Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Henson. We're joined by Matt Burtz.
Hello.
Hello, JV Gwaltney.
Hey, everyone.
And Jeff Cork.
Let's keep that energy going.
Holy cow. You should be excited. This is a hell of a show.
Yeah?
We can finally unload and talk about our new cover story, Metro Exodus from 4A Games.
All right.
You excited about it, Cork?
I know you would warn a little track in the carpet in front of your desk, pacing back and forth until this moment.
Gotta talk about Exodus. Not only are we talking about that, we're also talking about Hunt Showdown, a couple other games here and there. We're talking about a big Game Informer celebration coming up, right, Burtz?
Yeah, let's do it.
That'll be interesting. Then we're swapping out some hoodlums, getting some new hoodlums in. We're going to go from Western games to Eastern games, I think is the shift here, talking Yakuza 6, and then Skyping in Imran because he's played a ton of Namco stuff and a ton of Nintendo stuff on the Switch, so that'll be good. Then middle part of the show, Cork, you know how this goes.
Yeah?
Emails.
Emails, I love them.
Answering a ton of emails.
Yeah.
Back half of the show, you don't know how this goes.
Yeah.
This is, I think, maybe the strangest thing we've ever done on the podcast. The strangest thing that we haven't cut after the fact, I think, JV. Is that fair to say?
I am shocked that made the cut, actually.
Oh, it made the cut. So what we're doing is we're trying to play a text adventure. There is like a subset of fans that write in a lot saying, like, we want you guys to do D&D sessions on the podcast. Get Miller in there. And I'm always in the camp of like, that takes way too long. I don't know.
A ton of fans?
A handful.
Okay.
How
Now
big are
we're
these
getting
hands?
Dozens of us,
rescaling
Bert.
yeah.
Dozens.
Raccoon paws?
Yeah, fingers of fans out there are saying, please do something in that vein. And so this opportunity popped up, which is just bizarre, where Sony, to help promote the new God of War game, released a text adventure game that's only playable through Facebook Messenger.
For millennials. Right?
Yeah, so you play as Atreus, and it's just like this classic-ass text adventure game. And so we try to play it in the back half of the show. Try might be the operative word there, but it is a bizarre adventure. Think of it like a radio play and an interactive little game where we have Miller basically being the DM of this little prequel to God of War on PlayStation 4.
I'm pretty sure we drove Miller crazy.
Yeah, he jumped off the building after recording that. It's a weird time, but I hope you guys enjoy it. Jeff Cork?
Yeah.
For now, Metro Exodus is our new cover story. This is why I think Game Informer is cool. A lot of reasons, but one of them is, you're sitting in a meeting and suddenly it's like, okay, Metro Exodus looks like it's our next cover here. All right, we're going to Malta to check out 4A Games' new studio and check out Metro Exodus. JV, what was it like to travel to Malta to see this game?
Malta was very strange. And beautiful. We got off there and we were wandering around. When we actually dropped off all of our stuff at the hotel and were wandering around, I kept going, this looks like Karnaka from Dishonored 2.
Yeah.
And that never stopped. Every single street I turned, I was like, wow, this just feels like sort of that fantasy setting. It's kind of an incredible old city. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Helped out partly because they also filmed some King's Landing stuff there from Game of Thrones. So it's a weird Karnaka from Dishonored 2, King's Landing, and then they're developing this dark Metro game in the halls.
Yeah, you wonder, like we were joking before we went. It was like, is Metro Exodus going to have a nice beach scene or something? Like, is this going to change their perspective being in this gorgeous city that's in the Mediterranean?
And maybe it did a little bit. I mean, they are finally leaving the Metro, leaving Moscow behind for the third Metro game. Cork, you've played some of these, right?
It's true.
Okay. Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, Metro Exodus. You're leaving Moscow behind, getting on a train, going across Russia, and seeing some new environments along the way.
Through a cracked gas mask, right?
Yeah, you can't really see it too well. It's a lot of rubbing the gas mask to try and rub and see what the hell is
the
actually
whole
going
game
on
is just
there.
already doing this. You're just wandering around. Occasionally you'll see a tree or a mutant. Whole game.
You'll be happy, Cork. There's less gas masks.
Less and less as you go along. But
there
there's
still
also
is some.
there's a lot. Yeah, and it can still get cracked, and now you can put duct tape over the cracks, and it's obstructed.
It is the most redneck solution too. I loved it when they showed us
fantastic.
that.
Yeah, it's wild. So, Bertz, what was the demo? What all did we see out there?
So, we saw the E3 demo, which I think wowed a lot of people. You know, Metro's never been given that big stage. And obviously Microsoft didn't have a ton of things going on at E3. So when a demo came out with really amazing kick-ass graphics and, a really nice semi-scripted sequence, people took notice. And, we've all played those games. They're peculiar. I love them, but they are different. Their pacing's different. They're super atmospheric, but there are a lot of those weird authentic touch points, like having to charge up your battery for your light, stuff like that. That
they're a little hardcore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're hardcore.
It feels like a stubborn game in a way that a lot
deliberately and proudfully
and the developers were that way too. Like when we talked to them,
everyone was stubborn as a mule.
And that demo, that's the one that ends with a giant mutant bear.
Yes.
Okay.
With the crossbow.
See
and
if you
stuff.
remember the one. But yeah, they are strict about adhering to reality. They want to make sure that all the guns in Metro Exodus, especially, like, are somewhat believable. You can actually construct them physically out of pieces, and even just being strict about things where a lot of games would just write it off, where it's like, okay, we have a silencer in the game, but the silenced pistol, I mean, silencers don't really mute a gun, so they're
Right.
still going to make a fairly loud noise. It's
Yeah.
just going to be diminished a little bit. They're very strict with themselves in
And I
surprising
kind of love
ways.
that. There's only a few studios I feel like that I've ever been to where you could feel that everybody was buying into that authenticity thing. You know, like Arcane is one. Arcane worries about furniture design for a fictitious city. You know, like they are hardcore. Irrational was very much the same when they were still in operation. And you get that sense from 4A Games that the details matter to them.
And it's such an interesting studio. And I wonder how much of it is just kind of always being remote. They're originally in Kiev in the Ukraine, then like 65 people, I guess there's still like over 80 still in Ukraine, but I guess 65 people then went to Malta. And so it's kind of a split studio at this point. But I wonder how much that distinct personality of the Metro games comes from just the remote development. It's not like Malta is just crawling with other game developers or Kiev is completely flourishing.
Did they explain at any time during your visit why Malta?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes into a lot of decisions that you see, like when Ubisoft went to Quebec, right? Like there were incentives in the country that were there. It was close to Kiev. You know, they left obviously because of the unrest that's happening in Ukraine with Putin kind of being right on the doorstep, annexing Crimea, stuff like that. So like, it's really hard to recruit super awesome talent to come to Kiev when you have a regime that's creeping in on that country, and maybe it's not as safe as, like. You could go work in Poland at CD Projekt Red, or you could go work at Ubisoft in Paris or Montpellier.
Yeah.
You know, like it helped the recruiting immensely when they moved.
Yeah, they alluded to like protests and stuff happening outside of the office, like while we were there, like their Kiev office when they were still there.
It's a bizarre then story set up for Metro Exodus of like, hey, we're leaving Russia behind, or not Russia, but Moscow specifically, leaving the underground behind, leaving the metro behind, and going out on this great journey. It's an easy analogy to make with like the developers, or part of them at least, going over to Malta. So the story set up for this game, Bertz, that was like a chunk of the demo that we saw was kind of the very beginning of the game. I believe it was the very beginning, opening sections at least.
Right.
And then it jumped to kind of like the first, oh gosh, here's where the terminology gets weird. Open-ish region.
Like sandbox
big hub.
Yeah.
A big hub is probably a fair way of looking at it.
Like the analogy I eventually came up with, because they really pushed hard against the open world sort of thing. It's not an open world game. Was that one level from Half-Life 2 where you're going through like the interstate on the coast and stuff? Like that's what these levels sort of remind me of. It's like
much bigger,
still
though.
it's much bigger, but it's still that same sort of design of being very linear.
It's a very
but
wide
open.
hallway.
Yeah, and there are like tactical options and stuff you can explore.
They say, it's like hours and hours of gameplay. And the weird part is just trying to understand how this game is structured is you're on the train going across the continent, and then there's stops along the way where some sections are linear still. Think of it like a weird beaded necklace where every bead is a different size.
Yeah.
But there's kind of 4 major hub areas that we know of at least, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of correlate with the seasons. It's kind of a Last of Us type thing where you're slowly working throughout the course of a year as you journey to the east.
Yeah, you're going east.
So the first area, you leave Moscow, you leave the snow and stuff behind, and then what they call the spring area, they nicknamed the bridge, because there's a big bridge in that area as well. It's snowy and icy and watery, just a little bit less so.
Like a cliche version of Russia that you would think Russia would look like. Just lots of snow, kind of wasteland stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you guys think of that space?
I was impressed with it visually. Like, we spent
gorgeous. Yeah.
so long in Metro and the previous Metro games being underground, which, for sort of dark, dirty places, they still look really good. The Metro games have always looked good, but I was curious how, more open Metro in a different environment would look, and I thought it looked gorgeous. There is definitely a lot of space, though, that I'm kind of concerned about. Like, because bigger games, a lot of their effectiveness to me is how they use their space. It's not enough just to have a bunch of acreage now. Like, I feel like we are past that point. That's dull. So I'm a little concerned about that. Like, I want to see more. Like, what are we going to be doing there? We didn't necessarily see a lot of that during our demo.
And I think that was intentional. I do think they're holding stuff back. We were asking questions about the dark ones and like the supernatural stuff, and they didn't want to give a lot of that, and I think they're saving that stuff.
Right.
But we did get to we did flyovers of these areas, and they are significantly larger than anything Metro's done. They are way more in line with what Stalker did.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember Stalker, it was open world, but it was like there was loading in between parts of the open world,
exactly.
you know, and like it feels more, at least the pacing that we kind of got, because we first saw like a jump cut kind of demo where you're going from this area to this area, you're skipping the in between. Then we got a second drive through where they actually started to walk in between, and you got to see like, okay, how big does that space really feel? It was still big, but it felt a little bit more.
You understand it.
You understand it. You understand like there's always something right over there that you want to go look at. It definitely has that kind of design in mind, where because they're not holding your hands. There's not a guy that's going to give you a quest. There's no fetching. Everything you need to learn from like sitting around, listening to conversations, finding notes in the world, or just conversing with a certain person that maybe you saved. They'll give you a tip off to something.
Right. And Anna is like on the journey with you, and she'll be like over a radio kind of talking to you every once in a while. But it's a little bit like State of Decay Cork, where you're going up and actually using binoculars to like find the areas of interest on your own. Don't think of it like a mini open world where it's got like a checklist of stuff to do.
Yeah,
no, there is none of that. You have your same compass and map, and the backside tells you what your immediate objectives are.
Okay.
So it's still got that kind of, you know, like you're going to have to look around. You're going to have to find stuff for yourself.
So you're traveling a fair distance, though, from like where you've been in past Metro games. Does it seem as though, like, I'm not familiar with the larger Metro universe. Like, I haven't read any of the books they're based on or anything like that. So does the rest of Russia seems like it's in the same like setup?
Oh, the world is nuked.
So the world, right. But I mean, like in terms of just the way that communities, like, is it still like a bullet-based economy?
No. This is
the
gone.
ammo economy is gone.
Okay.
It's been replaced with more of like a scavenging, crafting sort of thing.
Okay.
Maybe, you know, like Fallout 4 a little bit, but
and
not
I kind of
quite
like that
as...
bullet thing. That was really,
it's an interesting
awesome.
hook, the idea that like you use ammo as currency, but their explanation for it, I'm sure some fans are going to be upset that little aspect is gone. But the explanation is like, well, you're encountering different societies. There's kind of these weird insular societies where people aren't roaming around this nuked wasteland too much. So every region you go to, there might be a new society you encounter, and everyone wouldn't have the exact same form of currency. That was just in the metro within Moscow. So we had to abandon it for something else.
Yeah, and that's another big change I feel like too. Like all the communities from the previous game, like, you know, you were living in the metro, so they were all interconnected somehow. These groups aren't necessarily interconnected.
Okay, so there aren't like established trade routes.
Right, because each area has its own kind of group. And like the first one we ran into were basically like crazy religious people who worshipped a fish in a lake.
And then they really believe that technology is the reason that, you know, the nuclear explosion happened and they're in this fallout state. So anybody who walks around with like a flashlight is deemed a heretic.
Oh, good.
And then you come in just guns blazing, lights blasting all over the place.
Well,
and the artifact.
it's your choice, you know. But that's the thing. Like, you remember the previous Metro games had moral consequence that you'd see at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Because you're working in discrete areas with these factions, you're going to see the payoff of your choices, you know, in those little areas. I think you're going to see them play out more over the course of the game.
And they said that like they're tracking a lot of stuff or some stuff, and then it'll pay off in a different way at the end. And they're not revealing like in a simple Paragon or Renegade, like, hey, you're following this path, you're following this path. It's like they want to keep it under the hood. Yeah. But the game is paying attention to how you're playing.
I think what the creative director said was, you'll get what you'll deserve.
You will get what you deserve. That was the best line of the whole trip. I was like, yes, that is awesome. You know?
So like the world has been nuked. It seems like because they're going on this adventure on train, right?
Yeah.
Rip the Aurora.
That seems like a weird idea. Like, are the railways fairly intact above ground? Like,
seems that way. I'd imagine it's going to be a lot of stuff. Like we only saw fly-throughs of other areas, which we can get to in a bit. But that first area we just saw, like, oh, the bridge is up or down.
Yeah, it's a lift bridge that's elevated, and you need to go figure out what's going on in that area.
And so I'd imagine it's going to be a lot of the reasons why you're stopping the Aurora along the way. Is like, there's a tree in the tracks. All right, here's a level. You know, I don't know, but I'd imagine that makes an easy structure like that.
Yeah, not, 15 miles of track are ruined, game over.
No, I don't think you'll be harvesting resources to rebuild a track.
It's basically the Wallace and Gromit scene where you're laying down tracks in front of you as you go along.
I can get behind that.
I mean, it's a weird structure for a game, and this is a very dumb, heady question, but, you you play a game, just one game.
Yep.
It gets harder, more intense. So it's a weird structure that I can't wrap my mind around with this game where you're leaving the super effed up Moscow. And in theory, as we're seeing, kind of prettier and prettier locations as you move away.
Yeah.
And so just structuring that game for like, the game has to get harder, so there's scarier, weirder, harder enemies in these prettier and prettier locations as you get away.
Well, I mean, we saw the desert, right? And there was definitely a Mad Max vibe there. Like, they're very conscious of it. They're trying to make it not too Mad Maxy, but there was a giant human head that was built out of sheet metal with like flames bursting out of its eyes. Like you couldn't escape the Mad Max.
That's
kind
not
of
a bad
vibe there.
direction to go.
No, not at all. But like all the characters in there look like kind of desert savages. And then we saw a really cool forested area that was very complex with like mountainous regions. There were underground cave systems. That was my favorite area I saw. That I was like, oh,
same.
I could get lost in this area easy.
And it's
but
kinda,
there were like all those fortresses with like, it looked like cannibal people with like people strung up, you know, like.
It's kind of like Hellblade style, those scarecrows, you know, like those were all over the place. And so that was the E3 area, kind of like the fall area. But we should dwell on this a little bit more. The fact that there's a desert in a Metro game is really bizarre. So that's going to be the summer area. And you were on that Mad Max trip, Cork. It's fascinating to see it, and they are very aware of it, and they're going to try and differentiate it quite a bit from what we saw, maybe even. But there's stuff where it's like they have huge ships, like ocean-going ships that are like crash in the desert, which is a cool look. Also, vehicle sections. You can drive a car around there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty different. So I'm curious to see how Metro fans react to some pretty big changes they're making along the way.
Well, you know, Prof had that line. He's like, everybody kept asking more freedom, more freedom, more freedom. Here you go, take it. You know, like they're definitely giving you that, but in a way that still preserves what Metro was.
Right, which is interesting to think of, like how, you know, there's so many games where it's like, okay, this is the open world, go explore. And so what is the value in having, you know, a bunch of different levels, but kind of 4, in theory, large hubs along the way? Like, is that variety, you think, going to come across to players, Cork? Do they appreciate, instead of one large expansive world, having, hey, the variety of 4 smaller but different worlds?
I think I like that, because then it lets them do things that are like drastic changes from areas without having to worry about, how's this desert going to bleed into the snow?
Right,
like,
right.
Someone's going to eventually come across that border and it might look really weird. So they can kind of do a 4 hours later.
Don't pay attention to this.
Yeah, I think it's like, how do you project a world? Because for me, you know, you made The Last of Us comparison earlier, and I think The Last of Us does a great job of conveying a world state without being an open world. Like, it does a better job of conveying a world state than most open world games do.
Right.
Because it just gets so much across with the variety of settings. Like, even though you are basically, it is a very linear, you know, you're proceeding along, hey, a train track, instead of like just wandering around like these huge spaces.
And also, if you're taking people with you, I think just in terms of the story, that has a lot of potential, because it's like a road trip movie or story, there's always people having like shared reflections and experiences. And I think that's where like something like, we'll go back to The Last of Us, shines, because they're able to kind of look back on their journey together. Whereas in previous Metro games, like, you're a guy who's running out and you come back and it's like, this guy's always going to be at the store. Yeah. You know, and he can ask how things were, but you guys don't have that conversation about, oh my God, I'm surprised we got past that bear.
Yeah,
they're
actually doing something cool with that I was really curious about with that train. You know, the Aurora is your constant as you're journeying into the countryside. It actually is more like a Normandy than I was expecting, I guess. Like, the way they explained it is that you'll add cars as necessary as you're going on the trip, and you're gathering people. So there's always like, it's your hub city that moves with you. And they said, like, if you ignore side quests, maybe sometimes your hub city gets a little thinned out, you know? Like, I asked if people would get added as you find them. They're like, no, it's actually kind of the opposite.
So you want to do that penicillin side mission.
Yeah. And they even made some reference to the fact that, like, they kind of have been dialing back on the sim aspects. They were originally much more sim heavy on the train. We're like managing the crew in there, but it's like, that's not really a Metro experience, I guess. But Bertz, I'm curious from your perspective. We talked about it quickly, but you're a fan of Stalker, which is a game from 2007, open world game that a lot of this team worked on back in the day. Were you expecting it to hit more Stalker notes just in the freedom of that open world? Did you think the Stalker comparison is fully apt?
I think it's apt in the sense that the people that created that suffocating atmosphere that you got in an open world experience with Stalker are doing this.
Yeah.
But they're doing it with the lessons learned. They're doing it with, like, Prof described it as their university. They went there. That game was like a 7-year project that was just on fire the whole time, which, to be honest, most games are. You know, as you talk to more and more developers, like, games are on fire right until the end a lot of times. You're landing a plane on fire. But that one was more so because they had never made games like that before, and they didn't have a ton of experience to draw on. The thing that excites me about this game is they did learn those lessons. They've been designing the Metro games a certain way, and this is the blending of the two. Like, what does that mean in the end? I don't think it's going to be like Stalker but Metro. I think it's going to be something different. I really do.
Yeah, and it's confusing, like trying to figure out how linear should they be for certain action sequences. Like Prof, the creative director, was debating like, do we have like, sections where you're on top of the train, like gunning down a gargoyle? Like, I don't know if that really feels like Metro, so I don't know how many of those we want to have. So they want to embrace the open world.
Yeah, they were really frank about that stuff.
Yeah.
They started super open like Stalker, and they realized like this doesn't feel like Metro at all. And so they scaled back, and then they reworked their ideas, and they went away from those kind of like, we have a train, let's make it a sim. Let's make you have train fighting sequences. Like, it seems like they're throwing things against the wall and deciding whether it fits the aesthetic. And I'm really appreciative when studios do that. Like they're self-aware of that project as they're making it, and does it feel right?
Yeah, I think you can kind of do like a smaller iteration on a sequel, but by the time that third installment comes out, you've got to do something different.
Yeah, and it's easy to get bogged down. I mean, they are just crazy perfectionist over there, and we have a bunch of video interviews with Prof and some of the other development team that'll be going up throughout the month and stuff. But it's one of those cases where it's like, okay, these guys are clearly brilliant. English is not their first language. Like, I hope the passion and the messaging can come through so people can get some sense of why they're so talented. But it is definitely a case of getting there and whipping out the cameras and realizing like, oh, this might be tricky. Trying to communicate what's fun about the game.
Yeah. And to be fair, they speak way better English than we speak Russian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think they did a good job. Like by the end of it, through like the struggling, translations that we might have had to go through, like their passion was so evident.
Yeah. It's fun too. There's an art director named Karma, nicknamed Karma, who's very funny and very strange. I think I showed you some footage of him on my computer. That's very funny.
Yes.
We have a video going up live with him later in the month. But he was explaining, I think we're just talking about the tech, like how do you guys make everything look so good? And his explanation was, there are just some people in the office that are very tough to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, those are the creative geniuses.
Yeah,
and
they make miracles. Yeah.
I mean, so the tech aspect, Microsoft is pushing this game in a big way, saying like, hey, look at it on an Xbox One X. And so what do they say in terms of like actual performance on that thing, Birds?
So for the Xbox One X, they're aiming for a native 4K. And they're still working on the frames per second, but the HDR is going to be there. For the computers, they said they like to burn out graphics cards, and they really hope to preserve that legacy.
That's their thing, is blowing up graphics.
Yeah, we still use Metro Last Light as a benchmark test when we're testing new PCs, because it is like when you push that game to the limits, it's going to push the video cards. And they're very aware of their legacy as like an engine company, and they have a lot of really talented programmers. So they're planning to do things, like we saw the demo at E3 and everybody wondered, was that real gameplay footage? As we walked away, Andy tweeted yesterday, he was talking about like, I asked the guys when they came back, did it look like that? And they were like, yes, but with a bullet, like the environments look phenomenal. As you saw that gameplay sequence play out with the bear, it seemed like maybe there were just like some strategic animation plays that were happening that made it look really more cinematic than maybe your minute to minute one.
Yeah, it's not complete BS, but clearly it was like a super polished slice of that game.
Yeah,
absolutely. But it's still an amazing looking game. And in terms of performance, like we asked about PS4 Pro, and they said like, unsure still, but similar to others with their explanations. So
that seems to be the standard with PS4 Pro.
Yeah, we'll do something with it in some way. And also, Cork, I'm sorry, but they said they had not really dicked around with the Switch much, so I don't think Metro Exodus will be coming to that.
Okay, follow-up question.
Yeah.
While you're on the disappointing people thing, can you honk the horn in the train?
Great question.
Do you mean do you honk train horns?
Yeah, honk.
I think you shovel coal to honk the horn.
That's not what I'm asking. Okay. Can you blow
we
the
didn't
whistle?
see too much on the train. Like we started the open area section in there, but we weren't playing, so we didn't get to dig around too much. But maybe this makes up for it. Maybe it's still a work in progress, but like the title screen we saw is like the diegetic, like, train engine area where it's like the different levers and stuff, like the continue options, all that stuff. So maybe.
And Artyom's wife is just off to the side, like constantly sighing. I thought, that was probably my favorite touch. Like,
so
she's just there. She just seems really upset.
All right, what do you think about this, JB? In the beginning of the game, Anna says something like, "Oh, Artyom, you got to quit looking for other stuff. You just need to make yourself happy in Moscow. We're not going to go find a beautiful forest."
This is really good reading, by the way.
Yeah, it's spot on. And she's like, "Oh, we're not going to go live on a beach somewhere. It's not going to happen. You must give
pizza
up."
Pie.
So the question is, do you think this game will end? And that was a bit of foreshadowing with them finding a wonderful home in a wooded forest, or like just relaxing on a beach saying, I could get used
I totally
to this.
think most of the people on that train are going to fucking die. Including Artyom.
Really? You think so?
I think they'll kill him.
Really? Why is that?
Because, I mean, it's such a sad series.
It is, but if they're going to prettier and prettier places, he'll see like a beautiful...
He will die beautifully. That is my prediction.
I think he ends up alone in Malta.
Alone in Malta?
Yeah.
That would be really cool, wandering around Malta. It is tough. Like, they didn't say this is the last Metro necessarily.
Or at all.
Yeah.
Or at all. The writer, though,
However.
where I'm going with this, the writers said, like, because we Skyped him in and interviewed him for a little bit too of the Metro books, and he's like, oh, he sees it as his Metro trilogy, and his ends at 2035. Is that the latest one?
Yeah, the last book that came out was for him. Like, he wants to go do different creative endeavors or explore television. You know, like he's interested in expanding.
And he was loosely hinting like, things are always moving in the Metro film and TV world. Things are moving along, but who the hell ever knows if anything will ever reach the light of day. But it was fun to talk to him and try and get a sense of what that communication's like and how much he's sending in a rough outline. It seemed like the idea to leave Moscow was coming from 4A, right? Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah,
Remember this correctly?
that's what he said.
They started with like an open world in Moscow that they were going to do, where they connected all the subway tunnels and you're free to kind of move at will through the areas. And the team was just bored. They've been in the tunnels too much.
Yeah.
So then they came up with the idea. I think it was a couple of the art team guys guys and ladies that came up with this idea. Like, what if we do a cross country trip? And they pitched it to Dimitri, and he was super stoked about it. And like, he told us this long story about how that means so much to him, because he used to have to travel from Moscow into the countryside to visit his grandmother. You know, like,
Yeah.
he
And
definitely is a passionate man who, you know, he tries to put his own lived experiences into his art.
Yeah, and so he said something like, oh, no, it's 4A Games' idea, but I feel like it's as much mine as it is theirs, because I would want to go a similar direction with Metro.
Yep.
And I didn't understand. There's like this, what is it called? The World of Metro? There's like an unofficial expanded lore of fans writing for
I think it's
Metro.
Oh yeah, there's 80 books. I mean, like, it's all over the
Wild.
world. Like, there are a lot of people. They don't have a lot of stateside people, but Italian, Brazil, Spain, you know, all those places, like, they've allowed. I mean, they're novelists. They're not necessarily all fanfic, but like, they're published books, but that take place throughout the world in the Metro universe.
Yeah, it's a confusing thing. But hey, all month long, GameInformer.com/Metro Exodus. Check it out. If you want to see, how big those areas are, we have a video going up on Friday, tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Thursday. That kind of shows off literally the fly-through that we saw as well. So you can get some rough idea of how big this thing is. JV, you excited for anything coming up throughout the month?
You mean Metro-wise?
Yeah, what's the best feature you're going to write,
sorry. God, no, you just threw me off. I thought we were changing topics completely.
Like, nope.
What?
What feature are you most
Oh,
looking
the
forward to
weapons.
writing?
I think Metro has some of the most interesting weapons, because it looks like they take that DIY, like, okay, you could build this weapon, like they were telling us at the studio, but that shotgun from the first two games, it's ridiculous. It looks so stupid but amazing at the same time. It looks like someone just like some stupid kid put it together, or a brilliant kid, I guess, put it together in the garage, and it like works.
Yeah,
like it just looks like it's. I'm excited for people to see that, our weapons feature on it.
Yeah. And the shotgun in Last Light alone was so awesome. People really go flying in that game. So
it really gets the power, the idea of the shotgun, that it's just this explosion of death.
Yeah. There we go. Metro Exodus, Jeff Cork.
Thanks, buddy.
I hope you learned something.
I did.
JV, what the hell is Crossing Souls?
Crossing Souls is an indie developed game that was kickstarted about 3 years ago. It's basically the easiest way to present this is maybe Zelda meets Stranger Things.
And full disclosure, JV stars in the television show.
Yeah.
Things.
Shh, guys, hush.
But wait, didn't they just make a Stranger Things game that was very inspired by Zelda?
You mean the mobile one?
Yeah.
I didn't play that one, but this one has like character changing mechanics, and it's very obsessed with the 80s, but the pixel art is beautiful. You're constantly changing between, I think it's 5 kids who all have special powers. So like in the middle, the main kid, Chris, he basically functions as Link from A Link to the Past. Like, he moves in kind of the same way, has kind of the same weapon, same attack. But let's say you're surrounded by enemies, so you can hit 2 of them, dash away, switch to another character who has a wider range of attack with a jump rope.
Like Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie. And just take out 3 of those. So it keeps the fighting fun, but there are also, it's not just that. Like there are also like mini games. For example, one of them is there's this ridiculous but fun DeLorean Back to the Future sequence where they present the whole like ramp up to 88 miles per hour as a rhythm game that you have to keep playing to like keep the speed going up, to keep accelerating, and it's really fun.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, but our review will be up next week. But for right now, I'm enjoying it a lot.
And it's out now?
No, it's out next week on February 13th.
Okay, on everything?
PS4 and PC and Mac, I think.
Oh, thank God they got that Mac in there.
Yeah, no Xbox One or Switch. Sorry, Court.
That's okay. We got a new episode of new gameplay today that has some footage of it.
Yeah, about
see it for
15,
yourself.
20 minutes of it.
Yeah,
That sounds
early
great.
on. Yeah.
Another game that Bert's, I think since E3 you've been talking about it a fair amount, is Hunt Showdown.
Yeah.
Is it Crytek still developing it?
Yeah, it's Crytek.
What?
Some of the OG Crysis guys doing it. Crytek's obviously been a studio in turmoil, over the last several years with like the paycheck fiascos, the engine kind of being bought and sold. There's a lot of different things that have been going on there. But in the meantime, they've been designing this game with like a smaller team, I think.
And it's gone through some reboots along the way, right?
Yeah. It was, what was it originally called? The Hunt?
I think it was just called The Hunt.
Yeah, I know like some former Vigil guys.
4-player
at Darksiders
co-op-y
teams.
type thing. Yeah, like
But now YouTube tells me that it's Evolve again.
it's not Evolve. Who
Okay.
said it's Evolve?
I know some YouTube comments.
That
What
guy
is
was
it?
drunk. This game is very different. We had a random appointment with Crytek. They didn't really say what it was at E3. Went and saw it, and it definitely has a rhythm unlike any other game I've played. So it's got a little bit of PvE, a little bit of PvP. Like mix and match cocktail of first-person shooters. So the game starts and like you and this other person, whoever it may be, it's 2v2v2v2. Is that right? 10 players? 2v2v2v2v2.
Weird. Okay.
So, but it's got this Dark Zone Division-y kind of vibe where like you're in this space together. You don't need to mess with each other. Not at first, at least.
Okay.
And you're hunters that are trying to find this monster in this gothic, like, I guess 18th century?
Yeah, it's like an old
19th
West.
century. Yeah, Old
Cowboys.
West weapons. Yeah.
What the hell?
Not cowboys, but more like European 19th
Cowboys.
century.
Okay.
But
Cowboys, no hat.
you have these really old, crappy guns. You need to individually reload each, bullet when you're shooting. Like there aren't clips, so you got to choose to shoot and reload wisely. But you're in this space where like zombies and monsters have kind of taken over this area, and you're trying to go hunt down this particular monster in each level. And everybody's trying to kill that monster, grab the bounty, and leave. So in the middle of that, like you guys are all kind of trying to find clues to find where this monster is in this open area.
Okay,
And the
this-
map that's available now is a swampy kind of area that's got a farmland. It's got, a cathedral and like a sawmill. It's got a bunch of different like points of interest in the map.
It's like a flooded city almost, right?
little
There's like
bit.
a lot of houses that are
Yep.
like the roofs are sticking up.
Oh,
Yeah.
weird.
Like
Okay.
there's definitely a flooding element and like probably a third of the map.
And so you can just focus on the other teams and wipe them out, or just gun it for the monster and try and win? Is that the rough
Yeah,
dynamic
you
here?
can kind of do whatever you want actually in that
Okay.
space. So if you want to be deliberate and find the clues, or if you like just go to where the gunfire is, because sound is more important in this game than any game I've probably ever played. Sound is everything because it gives away your location. And there are only 10 people there. And it disturbs the AI monsters as well. So like if you're walking through a town area and like these crows scatter and you can see them in the distance, you're like, someone's over there. Something disturbed the crows.
Okay.
If you start getting attacked by a monster and you shoot, more monsters are going to come and everybody can hear the echoes of the gunshots throughout the map.
So it's PUBG meets Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I don't know that I think it defies the blending convention. I don't know what two games I'd put together to make this cocktail.
Have you been
It's
having a
weird.
good time with it so far?
I think that the pieces are all there. It's really thrilling to kind of go through these areas, and you tend to try to save your ammo because when you get to the monster, you got to unload a lot into it. And then there's going to be people there because once you kill a monster and you have to banish it, everybody knows where it is on the map. There's this dark vision that you can enact, and they can see, okay, we got to go over there. And once they know where you are, they can plot, do we want to like ambush them when they leave? Do we want to go in guns blazing? Do we want to wait until like the monster kills them and then go clean up what's left of the monster?
Sounds good.
Like there's a really interesting element of strategy that comes into play there. And the thing that I think it's missing right now is I just, there's been a lot of maps where like I win, I bring back the bounty, but I saw like one other guy. Me and my partner saw one other person because everybody else was killed off in different parts of the map, and no one was really there for the payoff at the end.
Okay.
I think they just need to put some more people in the mix.
Weird.
Not
or
like
have
not
circles.
not 20 more people. Well, the circles thing happens organically because of the clue system. You're already going to that center.
Okay.
You know, but people know where the action's going to head because they're finding the clues.
Gotcha.
But when I'm there and I'm like sitting there during the banishment, and it takes a while, you know, like there's a 100% countdown, and we fast forwarded during new gameplay today because it just takes a while.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
you're just sitting there, and it's suspenseful. You're like, oh, who's going to come? But when no one comes, and then you're like walking back to the carriage that takes you out of the area and you can get your bounty.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that was kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I love that idea of it focusing on just a team of two. Maybe just because I love duos so much in a game like PUBG, but that's a cool twist on it. Just to have multiple of those roaming around this environment.
And it's closed alpha, so I think they're definitely taking feedback right now, and I hope that they kind of look at that. And are those battles playing out? Maybe I've only played 6 hours, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe I just have not had a lot of runs where there are a ton of people there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the way I'm playing because, you know, like I tend to be stealthy and not cause a lot of friction. I'm trying to sneak around. I use my melee weapon because I don't want to attract attention. You know, I'm playing stealth. So maybe that's why. But I still expect when I get to the place where like the banishment's happening, there should be some fireworks.
Yeah. And
It's tricky. I've been thinking about it, and I don't know. There's not an obvious solution to that problem because it is such a weird game. Yeah.
But it's an intriguing game. I'm going to play more. I'm excited about it. I'm curious how it evolves. There we go.
But it's not
There's the
evolving
time.
anyway.
But not at all. There's
no.
no AI-controlled or human-controlled monster.
And they've just said roughly 2018. Do they have an exact
I don't think they have a date. It's in
Okay.
closed alpha now. It'll move to beta at some point. It's PC only now. It's on CryEngine. It'll probably come to console someday. They haven't said that, but you can connect the dots.
Safe assumption. Speaking of squads and buddies and duos and dots and monsters, Bert, someone wrote into the podcast last week saying, hey, I saw this ad in Game Informer and it said something about beer. I don't know what it was. Can you explain what that was? What was that, and what can people look forward to?
Yeah, this is my other role in Game Informer now. I'm also event planning.
That's true. Congratulations. Big promotion.
So we're we work in the North Loop neighborhood in Minneapolis, and there's some breweries in here, and I happen to know a lot of the people at Fulton.
Quit bragging.
And Andy and I were there. Well, you live right down the street from Indeed. You're good. You're sad. But we were there, and I was hanging out with some people, and we were talking about our 300th issue and like what we were planning while we were drinking a Fulton 300 Mosaic IPA.
Perfect.
And the bartender, Doug, that I know, was like, you guys should talk to, you know, the Fulton management, and I bet you they'd be interested in doing like a collaboration with you guys. So we were like, that sounds awesome. We actually, you know, sent some emails to some other people. They were super stoked. So basically, on March 3rd at the Fulton Tap Room, we're going to unveil not only like the 5 limited edition covers of Game Informer's 300 issue, which will celebrate the 300 best games of all time as determined by the GI staff, which I'm sure will be a lightning rod of entertainment. But we'll also be unveiling the special bottling of Fulton 300 IPA that they're doing that has Game Informer designs on it.
It's bizarre. Okay, so only if you're 21 and over?
No, it's anybody can go.
Anybody can come.
Yeah, they actually make their own sodas and stuff there too. It's a family-friendly event.
Okay.
But it is at a brew pub.
Is brew pub in Minneapolis, downtown Minneapolis.
Yes.
So listeners, come on by.
You can go to GameInformer.com/join us, and it'll lead you to the Eventbrite page, and you can sign up. We're doing kind of a tally just to see like what the damage is going to be in terms of like the door presence. Like, do we need bouncers?
Yeah, I have no idea who's going to come. If you're a fan of the show, you want to come say hi and drink a Game Informer themed beer, which seems like a cool thing.
Soda.
Or soda, whatever you like. Come on by. But I think you've buried the lead here. So there's 5 different Game Informer 300 covers.
Yes.
And we're going to unveil all of them at this thing.
During a live stream, it'll be on Twitch too. So if you're someplace else in the country, can't make it, you'll be able to tune in and see the unveiling.
Yeah, more than likely also in this podcast feed as well.
Probably.
Unless it's a real S show, but I doubt it will be. But also, top 300 games of all time. Cork, how would you possibly boil down every game ever made into a list of the 300 best ones?
Well, you would, if you were to do this,
right,
get in a room for what would feel like 25 hours every day, and yell at each other.
It got really brutal.
Yeah.
It's a war of attrition.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go into details at that event. We'll talk about it in future episodes of the podcast. But March 3rd.
March 3rd,
Is there a time?
I think it starts at noon, but the live stream will be at 2 p.m.
There we go.
And it goes late. It goes to like 11, so you have a big window if you want to pop in and say hi.
Good Lord. All right. Fulton in Minneapolis. Come on by, say hi. We'd love it. Hey, for now, we got to go talk about some Japanese games. So no offense to you guys, but JV and Birch, do you guys want to
We play Japanese games.
Come on. No, you're not fooling
Upon
anybody.
occasion.
You want to clap or high five each other or something to get out of here? Bye. Hey, Leo Vader and Imran Khan. Welcome to the Game Informer Show, guys.
The magic of technology.
It's really wonderful if you're watching the video version here. We have Imran Skyping in from San Francisco. He's our news editor and just a lovely addition to the show. Welcome, sir.
Welcome to my house.
Yeah, it's a little view into his freaky home. Speaking of homes, we're talking about some pretty domestic games today, everybody. We're starting out. Okay, bye. This is where the show goes off the rails. Starting out, I feel like we should talk about Yakuza 6.
Yes.
I feel like we should.
Okay, when's this game coming out now? It was delayed, right?
April 17th is the new release date.
Yes.
Okay, it's a hop, skip, and a jump. You guys have been playing a fair amount. How would you quantify the amount you've played?
I've only played about an hour.
Okay,
I played more than an hour.
All right, great.
The full spectrum.
Yakuza 6. So I feel like Yakuza's always been around. It's the thing that everybody in the industry has felt guilty about not getting around to. Each and every person in the world, I believe. Then Yakuza 0 came out last year, and Kiwami. But 0 came out first, and then everyone's like, I'm going to give it a whirl. And it feels a little bit like Monster Hunter maybe does now, where it's like, oh no, this is great. This is the one I can get into.
Yeah.
And ever since Yakuza 0, there's been a ramping up, I feel like, of interest in the West, outside of the super smart people that jumped to it before.
Correct.
Yakuza 6 now, what was so appealing about Yakuza 0 was that it was like, hey, it's a prequel. You don't need to know anything. Jump on in. Yakuza 6, we're back to being intimidating again. For me, am I incorrect?
You're incorrect.
Yeah, what a stupid thing to say, Ben Hansen.
Okay.
A real
I'm sorry.
dum-dum.
Imran, do you play Yakuza?
I have played every Yakuza game, yeah.
Oh, you're
nice.
that guy. Holy cow, you should have
I am that
interrupted
guy.
me. Good Lord.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been on enough. You can feel free to interrupt Hansen at any time. It's really good to listen to.
Yeah, feel free to close your laptop lid as well
Pull the
whenever you want
microphone
to.
away.
So why am I incorrect for thinking that this one might be tough to get into since it's the 6th entry?
Leo, I'll let you answer this one.
Well, early on, without giving too much away, there's an interesting little sequence where you're walking past in this dreamlike state. You're walking past like a dozen characters, and you can go and talk to each of them, and they're just... And Kiryu just describes his relationship with that character, and it just kind of like fills you in on anything you may have missed from the whole series, or at least as much as that's going to matter in Yakuza 6,
Yeah.
the Song of Life.
This
They
does
want
not have a
to say.
sensation. It does not feel like you're walking into season 6 of a long-running television show halfway through the first episode.
Right. Okay.
And you're like, wait a minute, who or what? Like, the big beats are very easy to pick up on. You're like, okay, there's this guy. He's former Yakuza. He's got some, like, and it's framed in such a way, too, where, like, you see almost immediately, they have been showing this in trailers, so it's not what I would consider a spoiler. Kiryu is in possession of a human baby, and you're like, where did this come from? And then that's the big mystery. So I think it's set up in such a way that even if you are coming into it as a huge Yakuza nerd, you would you'd be kind of like discombobulated somewhat.
Okay, because it is a jump ahead in time a little bit.
Yeah, that's a much more elegant solution than it used to be, because like 4 and 5, the thing was the game encouraged you to go to the options and watch a 3-hour movie explaining to you the entire story so far.
The old Kingdom Hearts treatment.
Oh my
collection
God, that
treatment.
sounds unbelievable. And so is the entire game then just like the new God of War, where you're just escorting around your kid, or what is it?
It's escorting around a human baby. It's very slow.
Crawling, trying to keep up desperately behind
Nudging
you.
it with your foot when it runs out of steam. But
It's just like it's just an aspect of the plot. It's not like a...
yes,
Okay, you're not constantly holding one baby in your arm as you're fighting.
no,
No.
you throw it to the ground like a football.
So how do you
Heat
feel about
action.
Yakuza 6 so far?
It's freaking great.
It is? Okay, as great as 0 so far in your experience?
Oh boy, I don't know, because it could, like, okay, I will say this: things could turn around catastrophically, and it could just be one of 2018's biggest bummers, and it will be a notorious game from this point forward. But
Yeah.
from what I have played of it, I'm having a grand time. Love
Man,
it.
I was looking at some gameplay footage you guys have captured because you put up a new gameplay today showing it off.
That's correct.
And it's just absurd looking at the Yakuza series in general, but then also just the footage that I was combing through, just to be like, man, it really is just a $60 plane ticket to Japan. Like, there's just this long sequence of the footage you captured, at least, of walking into basically a McDonald's and slowly looking through the menu and ordering what you want, and just like the soundscape, everything about it is so detailed
Doing
and
it
so
in first
bizarre.
person too, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so Leo, now that you've been to Japan, do you have a whole new appreciation for just the fidelity of the Yakuza series?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I finished off Yakuza 0 after playing a little Yakuza 6. I discovered I hadn't quite beat it. So going back to that still, it was still like, yeah, this is Japan. Especially because that game has Osaka in it, which is where I stayed most of the time I was there.
That's awesome.
If you want to hear me talk about my time in Japan extensively, that's pretty much all the new gameplay today for Yakuza 6 is.
Here we go. And so 6 is modern day now?
2016, so close enough.
Right.
Okay. Pivotal year. Pivotal. Fantastic year. Well, that's interesting. And so picking up in the future, and I watched this trailer a while ago that blew my mind, and I think this is basically every Yakuza game, but it was a trailer just highlighting the different mini games available. It is absurd. There's like a full baseball sim. There's babysitting. It's just, they just keep on going. How does Sega afford this? How does the Yakuza get away with just pouring on all these resources to these absurd amount of side activities?
I think Sega is actually Yakuza.
Oh, I understand now.
Yeah, it's a huge product placement deal. Brand synergy.
Imran, I mean, throughout the series, are you playing these side activities?
Yes, I platinum most of those games. I don't remember if it's actually a real thing or just a rumor, but the way I believe it's supposed to work is that prototypes happen in Sega for games that don't get off the ground, but what they do is they wrap those things into Yakuza instead.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's like, okay, we could make a monkey ball game, but let's just go ahead and put the main character of Yakuza inside a giant ball instead and call it a mini game.
I mean, like the director behind the Yakuza series, Nagoshi, is the monkey ball guy.
Are you kidding
That's why
me?
there hasn't been any a lot of monkey balls since then, is because this is what he does now.
Oh, I had no idea that was just a random pull. That's awesome. Is hype just, you must follow the Yakuza series community and whatnot, Imran. Are people really stoked for 6 after 0 and the last one?
So the concern I've been seeing is that people, after 0 especially, is that in 0 and Kiwami 2, Kiryu has multiple fighting styles. In Yakuza 6, he doesn't. So I see a lot of people thinking, like, you do a lot of battling in that game, so people are concerned about whether that'll get repetitive over time.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Cork?
From my experience, not especially. I kind of like in previous games, I would dabble with certain fighting styles, and then I would kind of land on one that would be kind of my bread and butter that I would stick to predominantly at a certain point anyway. So I may not be representative of that community. Maybe people are really into like, I'm switching up all the freaking time. Mostly, as long as I could pick up a bicycle and smash somebody over the head with it, we're good.
And that's still a main
I'm
component.
a very
of this
smart
game.
person. Is
I'm gonna
basically
Actually,
trying to say.
Cork, here's my question.
Yes.
You know those things in Yakuza 0 where you're going to face a boss and it gives you that really cool moment of like the slowdown and like the boss title and all that?
Yes.
Does Yakuza 6 have that?
Yes.
Then that's great. That's all I need.
It looks cooler than ever.
There is
Really?
I won't spoil something, but there is a reveal of a character that kind of plays with that convention a little bit in a fun and unexpected way. So that is completely useless for everybody, but when you see it, you may or may not
In
recognize
2.5 months, you're going to recall this conversation.
Yes.
So it seems to be striking that same tone of surprisingly good writing and storytelling combined with just the most over-the-top batshit stuff.
Yes, and my favorite thing about the series, and I'm not as hardcore, is Imran, so maybe like the character takes some wildly divergent things later on, but I think that Kiryu is like a really cool character in that he's like a big badass fighter, but he's also very compassionate in the submissions, and I think that the game has heart to it that other open world type games, and just games in general, like don't have. Like I think that he's at his core a good person, even though he's involved in some things that perhaps are not so great.
Definitely.
But he handles himself, like his interactions with other people, he's always like kind and generous, and I find that compelling.
He's almost like the Cooper from Twin Peaks, just
Yeah.
like this ray of light in this
Exactly.
dark
You just
world.
talked about beating someone's head in with a bicycle.
They
Yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah, they were. It clearly said thugs.
Oh, I see. All right. Game on, boys.
Yeah,
Awesome. Okay, so April, please look forward to it.
absolutely.
Okay. Imran,
Mhm.
I know you've played some Nintendo games, but I don't know like the context of it. Did you go to some big press event, or where did you play these Switch games?
They were inviting people to the marketing offices in LA. So I went there for the day and played a couple of their games for the next couple of months, just for a few hours.
Okay, so I know you're a huge Bayonetta fan, so you got to play Bayonetta 2 on the Switch?
I did. I wanted to actually perform well, so I practiced before I actually went there.
Nice.
And it ended up not mattering because, like, when it turns out when a lot of people are watching you play very badly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This is a new phenomenon.
Don't watch The Secret of Mana New Gameplay today. Anyways, Imran. Sorry, so what did you think? I mean, is it just Bayonetta 2 on a Switch, and that's exciting as bare bones?
It is literally, yeah, it's not even all that improved necessarily. Like, they've gotten the frame rate up to about 60 on average, but they haven't upped the resolution at all, so it's still a 720p game running on a Switch, which, if you have a 4K TV, is going to look a little muddy.
But just go ahead and
I'll-
undock the console, and then it'll look
Yeah.
pristine again. It's wonderful.
As a handheld game, it is going to look amazing.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hoping for a little bit of up in resolution, but otherwise it is exactly Bayonetta 2. There's almost no changes except for the fact that multiplayer mode, which almost no one touched, you can now do locally.
I had no idea there was a multiplayer mode. Is that just like an arena thing?
It's an arena thing where you and a friend compete for the highest score.
Oh, that's like the unlockable art of multiplayer. It's an arena mode. I'm good.
We're good. I've never set foot in an arena in real life. I'm sure as hell not to do it in a video
No,
game.
thank you. Hey, did correct me if I'm wrong. Did the original release of Bayonetta 2 also include the first Bayonetta?
The first run did.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a Wii U version of Bayonetta 1, and the Switch port is the same as that. So it has all the Nintendo costumes, and they can be unlocked with Amiibo this time.
And you will get just to because I'm dumb sometimes. So you do get Bayonetta 1 also on Bayonetta 2.
The way
for the
they're
Switch.
releasing it is strange. I believe in like with the actual retail version, the first print comes with a download code for Bayonetta 1.
Okay.
If you buy them on the eShop separately, they're $30 a pop.
Okay.
Okay, I got it. And then a while ago, this was like months ago, I think, Andy McNamara said some wise words. I forget how it came up, but at some point he would just mention that the Kirby development team doesn't get enough credit. The Kirby developers in the world, all of them, all over the world, they have just been quietly cranking out these Kirby games on a consistent basis. Everybody maybe laughs it off or is bored by it, doesn't pay attention to it, but they're always solid games. And they just never stop that conveyor belt of Kirby, which leads me to Kirby Star Allies. Okay, then you played the new Kirby game on Switch.
I did. Have you guys ever played the 3DS Kirby games?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I did the boy, don't put a gun to my head and ask me the name of it, but not Robobot, the one before that. I played through
Triple
that.
Deluxe.
Triple Deluxe, yes. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, those two games are amazing. I don't know that I think this one is quite as good. The demo they stitched together for us was just a couple of like disconnected rooms that were made specifically for a demo's purposes. But from what I played, it's a lot simpler than I'd want Kirby to be. Like, so the actual gameplay concept is you throw hearts at enemies and those enemies join you. So if it's an enemy that could have a copy ability in the main or other Kirby games, they would join you as a partner this time.
Wait.
And you can still swallow them and copy them if you
Okay,
wanted
thank
to.
God, thank God. Okay, I was about to have a heart attack. Okay.
But like it's a very cute thing where like you throw a heart at them and then they come up and like they give you a hug or they like rub faces with you or something like that. But it's mostly environmental puzzles you're solving with them, and it's not a whole lot of very interesting platforming. And that's what I came away with kind of disappointed. Like, okay, it's cool that I can. So the first big puzzle they show you is that there's a giant bomb being suspended by a rope, and you can cut it with a sword, and that will just drop the bomb. But if you light the sword on fire first and then cut it, it activates the bomb and drops it, so you break open like a secret area. So like that's cool, but like you and your friends solve that once, and after that, it's not that interesting the next time it happens.
And so, are you confident that this is the entire game? Because it's all co-op, and so you can just have a crap ton of allies wandering around with you?
You do, and on single player, the AI just does whatever it's supposed to do in that specific puzzle, which kind of, once you see what they're going for, it immediately sort of solves it for you. But
weird.
like, we went through a couple of different stages that were part of different levels, and as it got further, it wasn't that much more interesting. I will say, though, that the game looks really nice, but it's also like, so you have Kirby, which is a very, very cute aesthetic, and then you have this like hyper-realistic textures, and it kind of comes off as horrifying.
Hyper-realistic textures, like in a Paper Mario Color Splash kind of way?
Is this one?
Yeah, like there was a big wooden enemy, and like you can see like the textures of wood on it, and it's just like, okay, this is actually very weird in this Kirby art style.
Like a SpongeBob SquarePants type of situation?
Yes.
Yes, indeed it is. It's
And-
weird. I feel like Kirby's having this identity crisis. I mean, first yarn, then clay, and then back to the original style, and now it's just mixing in real textures, mocapped wooden blocks are thrown in there.
It does look great. It's so at odds with Kirby, and by the time I bet you get like a bit into the game, you get a lot used to it. But wow, that first initial thing of like, this is mildly horrifying to look at these things that you're destroying and look vaguely real.
Weird. Are you confident that it's going to be that level of environmental puzzles through a lot of the game experience? That wasn't just like one section of the demo you saw?
I'm not confident because like I said, Triple Deluxe and Robobot took very simple ideas and built on them over and over and over, and then made like strong finales. So if this game does the same thing, which hopefully it does, it's the same developer, so why shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Then it should be great. It's just what I played, I didn't come away with it thinking like, this is the Kirby platformer I want, especially coming off the Robobot.
Yeah, there's something set like for the first entry on a console, it's kind of nice just to have not a boring experience, but a little bit more just like the standard. Like there's that crowd that's just like, I just want a good Kirby game on Switch. And it's interesting if they're changing things up so much that it might turn people off that just want like, I just want Dreamland on a Switch and I want to call it a day.
Yeah, I hope they're not emphasizing co-op too much. Like, I know that's Nintendo's big thing with the Switch, and I hope that's not their sole design doc for that game.
Yeah. Well, shifting veins a little bit. Literally.
That common turn of the phrase, shifting veins.
How'd you work that in so naturally?
I don't know. I made it up. Imran, you also went to like Bandai Namco and you played a game called Code Vein?
Code Vein, yeah.
What is this?
Code Vein, simply put, is anime Dark Souls. It is, you are playing as a guy with like, you know, multiple sword type weapons, and you have a female partner with you who does a lot of the fighting as well. And you just, it's literally Dark Souls. It is, you slash at the enemy twice and they go with a big hit and you dodge out of the way. And you try not to take on more than one enemy at once. And as somebody that really loves Dark Souls, I like that idea. And when I played of Code Vein, it scratches that itch, especially if there's no real big From Software game coming this year. But they're not hiding that influence at all. That like it is straight up. It's from the God Eater team, the
weird.
Monster, or like the Monster Hunter like game.
Yeah.
So I guess with, you know, if you can't beat them, try something else. And
yeah,
Code Vein is definitely something else.
It's interesting to think of like Namco kind of like scrambling to try and figure out, okay, Miyazaki doesn't want to make Dark Souls games anymore. Shut up, Leo. And so Miyazaki doesn't want to make Dark Souls games anymore. What do we do? Is it cool if we make a new Dark Souls on our own without Miyazaki? I feel like that would get a lot of uproar, but to make like a Dark Souls inspired game is an interesting strategy. And you think it's going to have that same appeal for the mass audience then?
I think the art style is going to end up turning a lot of people off.
Oh.
And I mean, when I say it's anime, it is aggressively anime. It is straight up what you would see on the like the shelves of a Japanese store. It's insane. Like I was reading an interview with the artist. They were saying like, we were trying not to make it too anime, but then the character modelers kind of changed it.
That's poor project management. That's when you turn around and say no.
No matter what, this cannot be anime, you guys. Be cool.
Damn it, guys. I don't know how much more clear I could have been.
I mean, it's definitely trying to appeal to that audience that couldn't get into Dark Souls because they didn't like the art style. But by contrast, the people who did like the art style of Dark Souls are going to find it difficult to get into this.
Is that the sticking point for literally any humans? Is the art style?
I don't
Dark
know.
Souls?
You would
Maybe
be surprised.
Maybe it's
Really?
too dark for some folks. Yeah, it's right there in the title.
Huh.
When's Code Vein coming out?
It's 2018. I don't think they've given a date yet. I think it's supposed to be probably before the end of summer.
Okay, so if you like Dark Souls and you love anime, keep your eye on it.
I would say so, yeah.
Fantastic.
Vein the excitement this fall.
I can't wait, honestly. You also checked out Gundam Models. What is this? Help me out,
So
Imran.
it's Gundam Breaker, I think is the name of the game.
Oh.
I had no idea what it was. It was announced I think the day before the actual event. But with Namco representative just sat me down like, you should try this game. It is. Have you ever heard of Gundam Versus, that fighting game style arcade thing?
Serial will not stop talking about it.
Yeah, so it's basically like a Gundam Battle Royale sort of thing. That's what this is, but the conceit is everything's a Gundam model. So literally the stage they put me in was an office where people were building Gundam models, and you were fighting other models, but it gave you like a mission that said defeat 20 other enemies. So you do that, which is surprisingly difficult, and then once you've solved that mission, another mission shows up that Big Zam, which is a giant walking mobile armor, shows up. So defeat that. So you have a boss fight to take that on while other enemies are trying to kill you. It's like a separate team. So they're trying to stop you from beating it while you're trying to push as much damage onto it as possible within the time limit.
So Jeff Cork is trying to wrap his mind around this.
No, shut up.
Okay.
So this is, when you say that these are literally Gundam models, are you saying this is a little guy in a big world
Are
situation?
you saying Little Guy Big
Yes.
World?
Yes.
It is Toy Story with Gunpla.
Now, Jeff Cork, I would not consider you a Gundam man.
This is like Gotcha Force, my friend.
That's the question. Is this an interesting enough pitch where you're going to
Yes.
keep your eye on this?
Yes, absolutely.
For people who don't know, Jeff Cork is obsessed with playing as a small person in a big
It's
world.
literally all I think about.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but I sit right next to him in the office. He just has Honey, I Shrunk the Kids on loop at all times.
I squat down too most of the day trying to capture that sensation.
Keeps a lot of giant novelty props
Yep,
around
a
him.
giant crayon. This is like Kralola. It's not really.
That's how he signs his checks at the bank. Yeah, I
exactly.
understand.
I'm
What was your
really
favorite
into
giant
Gundam
checks?
Dick?
I'm sorry. So what's the name of it one more time?
I think it's Gundam Breakers.
Gundam Breakers. What a weird one. All right, that's why we like having you on.
So real quick, the people in the background of that level you were describing were assembling Gundam models, right?
So they weren't actually in the level. It was just empty and open Gundam model boxes.
Okay. Okay.
Still good, less good. You want them like horrified that these Gundams have come to life?
I would say no.
Wouldn't kick it out of every crackers. Leo, you want to talk about Octogeddon?
Yes, I do.
Is this the new game from the creator of Plants vs. Zombies?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's all I know about it. So help me out. What is this thing?
It's left and right mouse click to control. Right click rotates you right.
Yeah.
Left click rotates you left. You move at a consistent rate through the levels, and your tentacles are either shooting stuff out at a consistent rate or just clawing at
You're
a
an
consistent
octopus.
rate. You're an octopus, by the way.
Oh, I see.
A giant one.
And
Weird.
a giant one at that.
Yeah.
Okay, and it seems fun so far?
It's really fun. There's a lot of fun strategy in planning the timing on when you're taking out certain enemies or certain obstacles in your way. And there's lots of really fun roguelite elements where you're building your octopus as you go on these runs. And when your runs are completed or you die or whatever,
Yeah.
you can spend certain currency you earn along the way to get like more upgrades, different kinds of tentacles.
Interesting.
They're all very absurd, like a snake tentacle that shoots like venom, or like a lobster claw tentacle that like pinches and does like really high physical damage, but like at a close range.
But it's always just the simple controls.
clockwise, counterclockwise, baby.
Wow, I feel like this could work on mobile. This could work on Switch. This could work on an Apple II. This could work on
You
actually
can
everything.
control it with your eyes,
Yes.
like literally just left eye, right eye.
Get the Kinect involved. Absolutely. You can
Yeah.
read everything.
You're the controller.
Is this out now?
Yes, as of this morning of the podcast.
Octogeddon.
Octogeddon. Really
Personal
fun.
computer.
Wow. All right. I'll have to check it out. Leo, I love you dearly, but you want to swap out here so we can do some emails?
Thank you.
Okay, let's do emails. And welcome back to the Informer Show. I'm still here. We now have Joe Juba sitting at the
Yeah.
table. Imran still here over Skype. We also have just so many questions that people sent into podcastinginformer.com. People sent in a bunch of things to rank. Thanks to Ben Reeves, people sent in a bunch of fun emails, suggestions, news stories they want us to talk about. Tons of questions, advice, feedback, everything under the sun, please send it into podcast@gameinformer.com. You know what the rule is, Cork?
Is that things that people sent or that you want them to send?
People have sent, and that
Okay.
they should send, because the emails are
Did
damn
you
near
say
perfect.
they sent Ben Reeves to us?
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Okay, the rule is
Anything that makes the show better, send it into
what I was gonna say.
podcast@gameinformer.com.
we'll send you something real nice.
And we'll ship you out something real nice after we choose our favorite email of the week. And this week's going to be hard.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I like this.
Oh, yes. Here we go. Tom F. from Grand Rapids, Michigan says, hey, over the last year or so, I noticed a formula that is repeated within the emails read on your podcast.
Uh-oh.
They begin with a brief recounting of a firsthand experience, optionally a connection to GI content or staff, and conclude with a poll of your own memories or preferences related to their firsthand experience. So what's the deal with earmuffs? It's Tom's email. He broke the chain that he noticed. That's the joke, everybody. I like that joke, Tom.
I don't get it.
I was thinking about this email. I don't think I've ever worn earmuffs in my life. Have you guys?
When I was a
Earmuffs?
kid.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. That's
I wore them when Imran was a kid also.
Yeah, that's when most people wore them. They saw me wearing them and they're like, "That seems cool."
Yeah.
Who's that lady? I guess our headphones are kind of like earmuffs. New age sci-fi earmuffs. Kyle from North Carolina says,
Off to a great start.
Kyle from North Carolina says, is there any chance for a Metal Gear Survive game club? I know people are still pissed at Konami for the whole Kojima thing and sour on the fact that the game shares a Metal Gear name. I'm in no way one of those people and cannot wait for more Metal Gear. I didn't buy Monster Hunter World at launch, but did immediately after hearing about it on the podcast. Love the show and hope to hear a lot more about Final Fantasy VIII. Thank you. The idea of, you should have listened to last week's show, Joe. Don't worry, we'll bring it up during the Game Informer meeting
Oh,
coming up.
good.
I didn't
Anyways,
hear it either. It sounds like a smart joke.
Yeah, it
It's very
sounds real
smart.
good.
Metal Gear Survive Game Club, interesting idea. I feel like it'd be nice to shake things up a little bit. Like Monster Hunter World, I feel like would kind of be a similar style of discussion where it'd be mostly systems-based discussion. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Metal Gear Survive could have the greatest video game story ever told. I just have no idea.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it would be hard to find an audience to participate in that game club with us if we chose to do it.
I don't know.
Even if that game turns out to be good, I am just judging based purely on the vitriol that I received at like around E3, simply by acknowledging the fact that this game might have a right to exist.
From the community, not from the GI staff, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And I'm still very curious and looking forward to playing that game, but I have no idea what to expect. Also, I kind of like the idea of going back in time for the next game club, whatever it is. You can fall into a rut easily of just always trying to tie it in with some new game in some way. Anyways, Colin Perkins from St. Paul, Minnesota says, hey, do objective trackers and or map markers ruin the problem-solving element of games? I'm finally getting around to playing System Shock, which was released in 1994, and I'm constantly getting lost. The game gives you all the information you need to progress the story via audio logs and written clues, but it doesn't distill it down to a do this next. When I take a break for more than a day, I waste a ton of time running around trying to remember what the hell I was doing. This is in stark contrast to a game like Bioshock that had a literal arrow on the screen pointing you to your next objective. Is objective tracking good for games? Do they function as intended as a time saver, or do they make it so you barely have to pay attention to the story? It's from Colin to St. Paul.
Both.
Yeah, where do you stand on it?
I am a huge fan because I have a tendency to get lost, and I'm selfish. So if I could not spend half an hour going around in circles and instead spend that 30 minutes making progress, I will do that happily.
I hear you. It's so tough. I think of it kind of in the same vein as like experience share in the last couple of Pokemon games, where it's like it's so handy. You can't go back from having it, but it also feels a little bit like if I have the option, I am spamming it way too much.
So yeah, real quick, I guess there's like 3 different levels of that now that I'm thinking about it. Like on one hand, let's say you've got an open world game like GTA where you need to drive to your next objective.
Yeah.
I'm all about an on-screen like GPS showing me where to go. Like I think Mafia 3's had a really smart one with like the street signs kind of indicating where to go. Versus find the USB drive with the Intel, and then it's just a glowing beacon that is shining through buildings where you're just like, well, what's the freaking point here?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is tricky for me because like I actually feel like it's kind of on the same spectrum as something like fast travel. Like at what point do you as a player need to be immersed in the world, need to sort of like interact with it on a second to second basis? And at what point are you okay? Like what is this like feature of convenience? What is it saving you from? Right. And I think in the case of objective markers, when done right, what it's saving you from is just a bunch of like unsatisfying wandering that doesn't like put you, again, when it's handled poorly, like you're just wandering around frustrated. And when you find out what to do, it's not like, oh, that was a real clever puzzle you're just like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to go.
But I do feel like there is that problem though, where if you start using it too much, it becomes like where MMOs eventually just boil down to watching just the hot bar, and when you can use the next move. And I feel like in some ways, if I'm exploring an environment, if I have an objective marker, I'm just looking at the objective marker way too much of the game and not focusing on like the art direction of each room, stuff like that.
By the same token, so let's say in an MMO, do you not want a mini map showing you where quests are that you can pick up?
Right. Well,
because like that's a very similar thing. Do you want that gone?
Well, I think for certain games like Breath of the Wild, I know you weren't the biggest fan of the world, even though you enjoyed the game. But I feel like that was such a breath of fresh air just because of that idea of like no objectives, no markers realistically anywhere. There's some subtle ones in the environment and stuff, but I just love the idea of turning my minimap off and just having that pure experience where I just paid attention to the world again.
See, to me, and part of that, and I know we talked about this a little when it came out, is like that's part of what was frustrating about me for Breath of the Wild. Like I'm not asking for a Assassin's Creed Unity style like map just clouded with icons and places to go, but like I wanted, like, to me it was not fun in Breath of the Wild to just like wander around or ride around on my horse and be like, oh, there's a shrine over there, now I'm gonna go over there. I would have liked
the game.
No,
that's the game.
And maybe that's why I didn't like the game as much as everyone else. But I mean, for me, I would have rather have just like had something pointing me in that direction, even if it's not exactly like a flag in the ground. Hey, dummy, this is where you go, flashing beacon. But something to sort of like nudge you in those directions, I think would have been, to me, I would have liked that more.
You would like the equivalent? I mean, I think it's a timely question. Maybe it's because I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World and also Shadow of the Colossus, where the sword is a big objective marker. But with Monster Hunter, you want something more in that Scout Flies vein. Do you feel like that threads the needle a little bit, where it's relatively subtle?
See, I feel like the Scout Flies is even worse because those do more than just like put a little thing on the horizon saying this is where your objective is. They give you step-by-step instructions of like weave in this particular direction to get to where you're going.
Okay, too hand-holdy.
So,
yeah. Imran, you want more or less?
Depends on the game. Like you mentioned, Breath of the Wild, like I turned that stuff off immediately, and like that was the game for me. It was, I'm gonna go check out these mountains today, and I just go do whatever I could to just go to those mountains. Yeah. Like the waypoint was me. But like I've been playing Horizon, and the less I'm on the map in that game, the happier I am because I don't like traveling. Like it's not fun to me in that game. So like I waypoint or fast travel and do whatever I can to eliminate the amount of time I'm on the overworld.
Oh, wow. I was the opposite with that game, where there are definitely times where to go across the world and it's like, I'm just going to soak this in, pop in a podcast and sit back and really soak in this world.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
Damn it, Joe. For context, Joe, you recently discovered that you can listen to podcasts while playing games. You're like, whoa, it's like doing two things at once, doubling my entire day. What is this?
Well, I started thinking about it more seriously after our Monster Hunter Game Club, and you guys were talking about, like, is this a podcast game?
Yeah.
And I was doing some grindy stuff I'm replaying Final Fantasy X right now, and was thinking back to your guys' conversation about Monster Hunter, and was like, I bet I could listen to a podcast while this is going.
Yeah.
Turns out you can.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's really nice.
There we go. Okay. What's that?
Especially when Waka is talking. So long, sucker.
Chris from Los Angeles says, big fan of the show. Thank you. Longtime reader. This is why I love Chris from Los Angeles. I'm in love with Chris, is because it says longtime reader and then parentheses puts August 2004. I love that specificity of like, this is exactly when I started reading Game Informer.
Wow.
My question is, what happened to publishing version differences between the same game on multiple consoles in the magazine? I think it was called The Edge with reviews. He says, I have both Xbox One and PS4 and have yet to play The Witcher 3 and Resident Evil 7, but having a hard time deciding which console to play them on. Any suggestions on how to decide and the panel's best idea for future choices like that?
Yeah, so there were a lot of things that sort of like go into that, like went into that kind of fading in the background. One of them, I think the biggest one, is just like there's generally more equivalence between the two like PlayStation and Xbox versions of it. It used to be that there were a lot more performance differences from one console to the other, and actual like content differences from one to the other. And now, with for good and bad, with the advent of like more DLC, usually the things that are exclusive to one console or the other are things you have to pay for. So we don't really consider those part of the base package. So then they're not part of that like total evaluation.
But there's still like sometimes you'll have a little bar or a box on the bottom right just to say like maybe, hey, this is how it runs on PS4 Pro or something like that.
Yeah. And like I think even if we don't call them out, I guess the bottom line of this is even if we don't call things out specifically in a little sidebar called the edge anymore, what that's turned into, and what I try to enforce as reviews editor is that if there is relevant information on that front, if it does perform much better on a different console or something like that, that information still finds its way into the into the assessment somehow.
Yeah.
It's just not necessarily in a dedicated sidebar.
Quit skimming.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Miles from Eden Prairie says, hey, GI, what's a childhood game you had to convince yourself was fine and playable because that's the only new game you had to play between your birthday and Christmas? For me, it was Glover on the N64. Boy, was that a piece of dookie. Shout out to Kyle, quote, the hentai king of Minneapolis, Hilliard.
What?
Is this
What?
I don't know if it's a replay reference or just a Kyle in real life reference.
Or maybe Kyle just loves anime porn, and that's fine.
Absolutely. Okay, a game you played in your childhood that you had to convince yourself was fine.
I want to hear Imran's.
Oh.
The very first video game I owned was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES.
Oh,
People love
that's
that
a
game.
good one.
That game is fucking garbage, and I got to shredder once in my entire life. And I did a YouTube show a long time ago where I played old games I used to play as a kid to see if I could beat them now. And I spent, let's say, like 2 decades defending Ninja Turtles, because I remember it being very good when I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it's not actually that bad. If you're good at it, then it's like you can totally get through it. Playing it again, it is actually one of the worst games I've ever played.
So, hate mail's coming.
So wait. Replaying it, did you get through the swimming section, the disarming the mines? Okay.
I got through most of the city.
All right.
And then it was like there was one jump that was like if you scrolled the screen too fast, you would inevitably get hit and just get knocked into the water.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it's like I did that maybe like 5 times, and like people can look up the video, but at some point I'm just like actually just having like a mental breakdown of like, how could anyone like video games after starting with this game?
Oh no.
How did that happen?
That's tough. I like that idea of going back and focusing just on those pure nostalgic experiences. Just like, let's go ahead and give this a double test with the viewpoint of adulthood here. Like, I played way too many Game Gear games growing up, and I convinced myself that all of them were great. And as a stupid kid, like focusing on licensed Game Gear games, that's like a distinct breed of shit.
Oh.
And so, I mean, I have no idea how well Garfield Caught in the Act holds up on Game Gear.
I have a good idea.
Yeah, I'm guessing that time has not been kind to that little game, but it was just crazy fun. Garfield gets sucked into the TV. It's everything you want from a video game.
Yeah, mine is also a licensed thing. Mine was Simpsons Wrestling on PS1.
Holy cow. GameSpot, I remember gave that like a 3.
I played so much of that game.
Oh, woof.
And it's really no good. I was even getting there a little bit when it first came out. Like I bought it and played. I mean, I put dozens of hours into Simpsons Wrestling, right? And then at the end of it, I was like, maybe hold on, because that's that sort of sinking sensation when it's like I've played a lot of it single player, and then I like have a friend over and it's like, hey, let's play some Simpsons Wrestling, and just like the disgust on their face as they're playing it, and you're like, wait, what? No, it's good, right?
Yeah,
it's good.
What was the best thing about that game? I mean, you could be like Bumblebee Man and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Ned Flanders has an ability to like pray and then make lightning strike the opponent. That is just totally an overpowered, but also like anyway, it's great. It's not.
Yeah. Cork, the game with the big wheel and the stick. That was that, right? Come on, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
F you, buddy.
Throw a rock. No, Wrecking Crew for the NES.
Ooh.
Hot garbage. Probably the worst game featuring Mario by a landslide.
What is the objective in Wrecking Crew? I
To
think I've
destroy
tried to
the
play
building
it.
and then exit the level.
Hey, okay, go on.
No,
that's really it.
So what I was,
sucks.
I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious about a flip side to this question, real quick. Is that like there are these games that you played that you convinced yourself were good. Mm-hmm. What were the games that sucked that you knew sucked even then?
Oh, Urban Champion.
For me, it's Back to the Future on NES.
Back to the Future.
I knew that game was just total trash. as soon as I rented
I
it.
think like the almost probably about 75% back then of the Atari 2600 lineup. I was just like, oh yeah, this is not good. MASH. Remember, it was completely terrible.
my god, MASH on the Atari 2600.
It was like a poor man's choplifter.
Wait a
and
second.
then it would switch to like an operation style game where you're like moving a tiny. It looked like a wrench, I think, and trying to like move through a maze to remove a piece of shrapnel from a little operation guy. So it really made you think about the horrors.
I want to play this. Wait, at least did it have an Atari version of the?
Yeah, of course.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds rough.
I want
I
to play
remember
this.
really trying to convince myself that Earthworm Jim 2 was great, and like the more I played it, I was like, yeah, this is probably fine. I'm sure the next level is good, and then inevitably was terrible.
God, that moment when you realize it just slowly dawns on you was the worst.
Yeah.
What have I done? What have I done with
What
my
have I
life?
done?
Or my allowance. Like
I ain't got no money now.
Yeah.
Joseph from Davis, California, ties into last week's show. He says, last week, Kyle mentioned that he would want to see a GTA game, quote, without the dick jokes. Well, I have nothing against a good Wang wisecrack. Thank you for listening to the GI show. I agree that the tone of GTA games has always rubbed me the wrong way. I understand that Rockstar is going for satire, but to be honest, I don't think they pull it off. Their social commentary is ham-fisted. One of the reasons I think I enjoyed Red Dead so much is that comedy was much more subdued than most Rockstar games. Am I the only one that has this opinion of GTA? I usually only hear praise for the series. I can't be the only one that finds the humor grating. P.S. GTA 4 wasn't too bad. Okay, there we go.
I completely agree with you because I think that Rockstar has demonstrated with like his example, Red Dead Redemption. I think Bully in the same way.
Yeah.
They have like, obviously this is not a controversial opinion, super talented writers who are capable of creating charming and interesting characters and believable worlds and fascinating subplots and all that stuff. But I think that the humor in GTA games is not great. I think it's at best juvenile.
Is it just
not in a fun way.
holdover from the old days where you have to have some puns and just kind of like the store shop stuff? Is that what you're talking about, or are you just the minute to minute?
A little of both.
Okay.
I don't know, like missions where it's like, hey, let's stick it to this reality TV culture, right, guys? You're just like, maybe you're not as subversive as you think you are here.
It's pretty punk rock. Pretty
It's
punk
all
rock.
right, whatever.
Stick to the West. Jordan.
I mean,
from-
the context is very different these days. Like, it used to be they were the only ones doing mid-level satire in video games.
Interesting.
And now it's like their satire is, hey, we buy a lot of guns and some white people are racist.
Right.
It's like, yeah, we've had elections about those at this point. Like, this is not new news to anybody. You're not doing anything that like indie developers weren't doing 10 years ago.
Well, where could they go? Where's the cutting edge?
Sincerity.
Sincerity. There we go. Just a completely sincere GTA. That sounds great.
Or
Jordan-
go the complete opposite direction. Just go Saints Row. Just make a completely wacky, insane GTA.
Yeah, just forget satire in general and just go pure absurd.
Yeah.
You got to thread that needle because
Like-
I would argue that Saints Row got too Saints Row for its own good too.
Yeah.
And
Saints
about a
Row
couple-
4 especially. Did.
oh yeah, it just yeah.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I know this is a different case, but just not that long ago, I don't know why. I think I found it on my computer, but I watched like a video preview we did for Saints Row 4, and it was you and Dan Reichert, and you both were like losing your minds over that opening and how absurd it is, like riding the rocket into space. and
That
all
opening
Yeah.
for Saints Row 4 is actually super strong.
Yeah.
And then the problem is that game just becomes like
Waka
Like-
waka.
yeah, well it turns into the beginning feels like Saints Row and then it feels like a Crackdown ripoff after that. You know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Jordan from Eagan, Minnesota says, "Hey everyone, hope you had a good day." Thank
Great.
you.
I did.
Thank you. That's fine. It's pretty good, Cork.
That's all right.
Okay, great. John Williams just received his 51st Oscar nomination for his work on Star Wars: The Last Jedi. 51st.
For the Star Wars: The Last Jedi, 51.
Yeah, he wrote 51
Give it a rest,
tracks.
guys.
He says, "This got me wondering,
get
what do you think is the best piece of Star Wars music John Williams has ever composed? Of all of Star Wars,
Oh, boy.
best John Williams track. Joe, what do you think?"
I think so. It's my favorite is one that is I think is underappreciated because when it plays in Return of the Jedi, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's right when Luke is kind of hiding from Vader underneath the Emperor's throne,
Yeah.
and
Weird moment. Yeah.
well, no, but then he's like, "You have a sister. and then Luke jumps out at him with the lightsaber and they start. So it's like there's a build up and this sort of like crescendo of music there, but the music's hard to hear because there's so much like lightsaber cracking and stuff going on there.
Interesting. Okay.
But I listened to that track a lot on my like Star Wars soundtrack.
Man, do you have any idea what that track's called?
No.
Okay.
Hiding underneath the throne.
Don't talk about my sister. This is controversial, maybe, but I think prequel music is very, very good. I think I think a case could be made, maybe even stronger than original trilogy soundtrack. That sounds like Imran. That was not Imran.
What was that?
That was Trevor Johnson, who, thanks to last week's show, sent in just an audio file of him laughing to play throughout the podcast. Apparently, Leo chose that moment to play it. Anyways, I can get back to my point, Trevor.
Who cares? Wow, Leo, that was some nice work. Way to deploy that.
Anyways, Duel of Fates, I feel like, is the obvious example from episode 1. And it's throughout the prequels, but also I would still say underrated across the stars. Like the love theme between Anakin and Padme. Just look that up, play it. Heavenly.
You act like people know, apart from Duel of the Fates and the Imperial March, you act like people know the names of Star Wars tracks.
Everyone knows all these, right? Yeah, maybe not. Sorry, too dorky, everybody.
Okay.
Oh boy. Cork, what's that name?
Voy.
There we go. Voy Jednik from Shakopee, Minnesota.
Wait, that's what you're tripping on, a VOY? But the last name?
No, I
Jednik.
wanted you to say the last name as well. Okay, Voy Jednik, thank you for writing, and we love you. From Shakopee, Minnesota, says, hey, crew, I was recently thinking about microtransactions and the backlash against them and what video game companies could do to add revenue. It's very thoughtful of you. I started thinking about Hulu and Netflix and how these services will play advertisements before and after some shows. And this made me think that loading screens would be a place games could do that. Not single-player games, mind you, but multiplayer games have a lot of loading screens before and after matches. It actually seems inevitable that this will happen. What are your thoughts on this, and what other products besides gaming-related items could be advertised during load screens? Tide? No. So what do you guys think? That idea of multiplayer games, ads, and loading screens?
I think that is a idea.
Yeah, boy. I hope you're listening. No, but what if that like removes...
Also, Shakopee sucks. Chaska rules.
Okay, all right.
Oh.
I like Valley Scare. Deep Minnesota cuts. So what do you think, though? Like, if it removed all microtransactions from a game and they made it clear that this was the reason for it, would you take ads on the loading screen?
No.
Never. It's just unbearable.
No, I get super mad if there are ads on my like dashboard for like Xbox and stuff. Like,
yeah.
Just, I've in cases like TV, which is like, I'm paying the cable company for cable, but I feel like for the most part, I am like enjoying this content. I understand that, or for free. And I understand that, okay, like TV producers, they need to like make, They need to make money on that, right? But it's like, I have already paid for this game. I don't want... But I'm getting really mad about this. The idea just makes me very, very upset.
It's not like they're going to be advertising, the Daytona 500 on the back of a Colossus or something. Like,
it doesn't matter. It's intrusive. Like, I would rather just stare at a black screen that says loading than just have this like intrusive ad shoved at me for something like in a product that I have already paid $60 for.
Multiplayer game, if it stripped out all microtransactions, I would take that.
But that's never going to be the choice. It's always just going to be like, you'll get this and microtransactions because we need to meet our revenue goal.
Well, that sounds like a fair trade.
Yeah. And also, like, actually, I mean, if you're talking about like certain types of microtransactions, like I hate the ones that are like that throttle your progression, that feel like you need to do it. But it's just like, in a lot of cases, I'm totally fine just ignoring microtransactions.
Yeah, I just don't want.
You can't. It's a lot harder to ignore just a big dumb ad that's in your face.
What if it's funny though? It's like,
they're not.
Oh. Okay, Mike from Utah says, hey, crew. Some random thoughts watching Super Replay and Replay this weekend. Do the controllers from Game Informer's Game Vault ever see wear? Like wobbly analog sticks on the N64 or wearing rubber on the Xbox 360? Do those ever get replaced, or are they just considered a casualty as the supply diminishes?
I think most of the launch PS4 controllers, the outside ring on the analog sticks, those have all been torn off.
Yeah.
I think there are some really gnarly, unhygienic Xbox 360 controllers. I think Leo, we did a replay the other day. I think it was the Bullet Witch one, and originally he plugged the controller in, and Reiner said, "Oh, that's the Grody one." And made him get the other one. So
let's see. Leo's bringing it around right now.
it looks like someone
Definitely had.
Leo, you want to bring it up to the camera? Really, just get a blurry shot of that bad boy?
Yeah, you're gonna want to.
And that's not even that old. I feel like the N64 controllers, they're all still pretty tight. I don't know if people just didn't play a lot of N64.
We got a lot filthier, I think, is what happened. People started licking their fingers more and washing them less.
Though I will say, I think in the case of Xbox 360 controllers in particular, I think they've all outlived the Xbox 360s that they were packaged with.
That's true.
We have
death.
No.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, there's still totally some original NES, Super Nintendo controllers lying around here. It's always that guessing game about whether or not they're all going to work, but pretty good ratio, I'd say.
There was a PS4 controller floating around the office. I think someone eventually, wisely, threw it away. That for a while, if you just let it sit, the analog stick would slowly, not physically, but like it thought it was moving in a direction. And you can reset those. Like if you resync them, that can fix some issues. Like I had one at home that was doing that. This one was resistant to that. So eventually someone pitched it.
That changed so many reviews.
Yeah.
That's not true.
You actually don't move left all the time. Accidentally. I didn't.
Correction. Every review written from 2014.
The controls were tight.
Mike also writes in with a question that I love. This is still Mike from Utah. He says, any idea why dialogue in games have such a hard time with interruptions specifically? More specifically, one character talking over another. This doesn't count games where you have to press a button to continue the dialogue, but for cutscenes or dialogue-heavy games such as Witcher 3 or Telltale games. Mike, I totally hear you. This also drives me nuts. Like, a good example is JRPGs when they started getting voice acting in particular, where a character would be talking and then the sentence would end with the ellipsis, and then you'd have to wait a beat, and then it would be as if it was written as if a character was interrupting another person, but the way it's read is just like this long pause, and then the next character jumps in. It's tough for games to get it right. Very few have.
So for the JRPG specifically, there's actually like interesting trivia about that. Like Joe, you said you were playing Final Fantasy X recently.
Yeah.
That game, for whatever reason, and it's completely insane they did this, is they timed the game logic to the length of the voice file. So when they were dubbing the game, they couldn't change the length at all, otherwise the game would just break.
Whoa.
Which is why like Titus had that very famous "I hate you" at the end. That sounds fine in Japanese.
Yeah.
But in American or in English, it sounds absolutely terrible. Which is one of those reasons they did that, like that kind of like tit for tat alternating voice dialogue back in those days.
Huh.
Weird. Hang on. So the "I hate you" line, I don't remember. It, like he says it, then there's a long pause after. Is that the idea?
No, it happens really fast. There's a like, Dad, yeah, I hate you.
Storytelling.
I'll get you.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, one of the things that, like, in Assassin's Creed games, I noticed this probably more so than any other series, is the accidental interruptions from NPC dialogue. Or, like, Elder Scrolls games do this too, where it's like, well, actually, we've been having a dragger problem as of late. And then to it in the background, you hear, hi, how are you? I'm fine. The weather's not great these days. My wagon's been delayed. Just like all this random nonsense. You're like, shut up.
Video games are so hard. I'm very sorry I forgot this person's name in the copy and paste, but they'll know who they are because they're from Ely, Minnesota. They say.
Nice.
Ely, God's country. They say, hello, crew. Last week you talked about ranking characters or items. Well, I have some video game characters for you guys to fight over, to rate from least to best.
All right.
From least to best. My favorite way to rank them.
Okay. Rank them.
Yep.
Kratos, Geralt, Master Chief, Nathan Drake, Marcus Phoenix. This is just a video game ass patch of video game ass characters here.
Okay. Marcus Phoenix at the bottom.
Oh,
Really? I would put Kratos below Marcus Phoenix.
I would as well. Cork, we need you.
Master Chief is just... He's an empty suit of armor. I mean, I don't know how anyone could like him at all.
His voice is deep.
That's a Halloween costume.
Yeah. What? Number 5, Marcus Phoenix. Number 4, Master Chief. Number 3, Kratos. Number 2, Geralt. Number 1, Nathan Drake.
Geralt below Nathan Drake.
Yes.
Does everybody agree with that? Go around the horn. Everybody agrees.
I think Nathan Drake's more likable, but I think Geralt's a more fleshed out, interesting character.
Yeah. Is it the voice work will bring Geralt down at a certain point, right?
No.
No. I'll go with Kratos. I think is a little too high there. A little too high, Joe.
For me, it's not even. I mean, I love the God of War games. Kratos, admittedly, a little one note as a character up to this point, but I think it's more of a like Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix have like negative points for me.
Yeah.
They're in the negatives.
In Kratos' perspective, what if he looks around and he sees where we would see gods? He sees like advertisements. Is that something you could relate to, Joe? why he's such a one note maniac?
I was amazed on that cover story trip just how open that team was, and Corey specifically talking about like, oh, we want to turn Kratos from a character people loathe into one that people like. And like, use the word loathe. And it was like, oh, right. I guess I didn't care for him, but I don't know if I go with loathe. Maybe me defend Kratos to the creative director of God of War.
I think that he got just a little like over the course of those 3 games, people started to get very tired of his kind of just, I'm real mad and screaming about it.
Yeah. Ryan from Utah. Here we go. He says, hello, internet people. We exist in the real world, too. Find out. Come to the Fulton Brewery.
Imran doesn't.
March 3rd. Oh, that's true. Imran. No one's ever seen his physical body.
Basically like Siri.
He says, I just finished Assassin's Creed Revelations. It 100% matched up with the meh feeling that the community has toward it. But far and away, the worst part about the game is the end credits. They last 16 minutes and are unskippable. And if you quit the game or reload your save, it restarts the credits.
It's like the Mr. Rossetti.
It's bizarre. He says, channeling Hansen, it's completely absurd. I kind of just wanted to rant about that, I guess, but I suppose I need some kind of question or something. So what are some awful parts of otherwise decent games that are infrequently discussed?
Oh, my God.
What's funny about that is that he's talking about Assassin's Creed Revelations, but the bad part is the credits and not the tower defense minigame that is like pinched off in the middle of that.
Is that as bad as people remember or think?
Oh God, it is such a bad idea. Like,
I don't even remember it.
I just remember the guys slowly running into place and you dropping like your artillery to destroy him.
I'm imagining Fort Condor from Final Fantasy VII. It's just like that.
Yeah, it sucked. Okay, so it's just one of those things where it is clearly not the team's bread and butter, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's not a kind of game that they have a lot of experience making. So it's this like, oh, this weird little mini game, sort of, oh, this might be a fun diversion. Except it's like, if you don't want to do that, you need to just be like completely thorough in your treatment of like side activities around the area so that your towers never get invaded. So it's like, I felt this pressure to do things that I didn't really even want to do in that game, just so I did not have to engage in that tower defense.
Oh, wow.
So I thought it was bad.
Yeah. I'd go with the entire B ending route from Nier Automata that people don't seem to talk about how annoying that is, that you basically have to just replay the entire game except from a slightly different perspective. That game gets a lot of love. A lot of it's warranted, but that's one of those things like, this is unforgivable. People complain about a bad part, but replaying the entire game is absurd.
I agree with you, but I also feel like C and D wouldn't be as good without that context of B.
Just being bored before you see something interesting?
Yeah, see, like,
I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff you learn, and that perspective makes what happens in C and D way more interesting.
Okay. My thought on that is like, I don't understand why A and B couldn't have been integrated into a single playthrough. Like, I think that you could have gotten there were ways to integrate that other character's perspective. So you didn't just have to like do basically the same thing back to back.
Yeah.
But
anyway. The other one I'd go for here is Grim Fandango. The stupid puzzle where you have to cut the ship in half that's like lodged in the end of the world and you have like the anchor on the chain wrapped around it. And it's like this weird thing where you have to rearrange all this crap to make it, you just eventually saw the ship in half.
And it's so muddy you can barely tell what you're even looking at.
Yes, it sucks so bad.
Yeah, I would say like for me, I think Assassin's Creed 3 had it, and then also Crackdown 2. So 2 great games. This is what kept them from being great. Any kind of collectible that when you approach it starts running away from you. It's just like the biggest FU. Where it's like, it's not bad enough that Ben Franklin, that idiot, can't keep a freaking paper clip or something. You should have invented that, maybe, right, fellas? But to have like, hey, here's this thing. Let me get up on the roof. Okay, I jump over to this tree. Oh, good. Got to go on this little like stupid path, and
because his papers are flying all over the place. In 4, aren't the music notes running away too?
It's the same thing. Yeah,
okay.
Black Flag does it too.
Oh God.
Another quick couple shoutdowns. I won't go into won't go into detail on it, but the asteroid shooting mini game in Dead Space.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And
That one's completely broken on PC. Like, for whatever reason, it doesn't use like the actual mouse like speed. So you just can't do it. It's not like, it's almost impossible.
Oh wow.
and mineral scanning in Mass Effect 2.
Oh yeah.
But if you had a good podcast, mineral scanning is just wonderful. It's the only way to do the mineral scanning.
It'd be better without it.
Ian Miller.
I'd say Tower of Hanoi is like a terrible part of every BioWare game they did it in.
Oh God, yeah.
Wait, what is it?
The Tower of Hanoi puzzle, where
I
you
don't know
get
what
the
this is.
3 posts, and you have to move things from one end to the other, one at a time, leapfrogging
It's like-
over.
Like
Yeah.
that kid's toy that's
Yes.
like different rings.
Right.
That or
right, right.
fuse boxes where it's like, make the meters all
See,
equal, and you have
to
like
me-
different measurements. No, don't defend this, Joe. It's garbage.
I'm
It's
not
a lock-picking
defending it.
minigame.
I'm not defending. I'm saying that just falls into more like, oh, that's a dumb lockpicking minigame. That's not just like an entire terrible mechanic that's like dragging a whole experience.
Right. On the flip side of this question,
Mm-hmm.
people always rag on Mexico and Red Dead so much. Like, oh, it drags, crawls, it just slows to a crawl and stuff like that. That section is not that bad. It's
didn't
maybe
real-
the worst section of that game, but
I
come
didn't
on.
realize that I hated that part until afterwards when I went online.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently-
it's totally fine.
Guys, it sucks, right?
I actually have to replay that. I didn't.
I
stalled out around Mexico, but that was partially to do with the fact that Tim Curry spoiled the ending for me around then, and it killed my momentum in the moment.
Joe,
So
hand to God. Yesterday, I was going through and pulling, just making sure we had all old videos from GameInformer.com,
Yeah.
like modernized. And I was Googling around trying to find our spoiled for Red Dead Redemption. And at the top Google result was Tim Curry spoiled Red Dead Redemption for me from you. Like this entire entry about F you, Tim.
I was madder than I should be. I'm sorry, Tim.
No, that's fair. Ian Miller from Bellingham, Washington says, Dear Ben and the Gaming Shepherds. What the hell?
Is it a Mass Effect question?
I don't think so. Dear Ben and the
Are they a
Gaming
band?
Shepherds, what is the best animal? There can only be one. Debate.
Gorilla. Because
Gorilla feels like cheating.
We're talking like silverback?
I'm not particular about the color of the back. I just
Okay.
like just a big ass gorilla because they're so big and physically imposing. But by all accounts, I have not interacted with one. Big sweethearts.
What? Who's telling you that?
They are like much more gentle. They're like an orangutan. Like unlike a chimpanzee, which we've been like fooled into thinking are really nice, but they will bite off all your fingers and your face.
Yeah, they just
'Cause
rip
they're
off
freaking
like,
monsters. But
yeah.
gorillas seems to be pretty chill.
Imran, why do you think gorillas are cheating?
Because they're so close to human. Like at that point, you're like, let's just pick the closest relative.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, might as well just pick humans, Korg.
Joe Juba is the best animal.
I would
Party
argue.
animal, right?
Yeah. I would argue elephant, but Dan Tack would storm in this room and insist on how much he hates elephants.
Does he really?
No, it's an old reference. Sorry.
That's hilarious if you get it.
Well, people listening to the podcast might listen to the podcast. Anyways, I think Komodo dragon, effing cool. Who doesn't like looking at a Komodo dragon?
Yeah,
I don't like or dislike
Yeah,
it.
it's not a dragon. To me, that's like they're disappointing because they're called a dragon. It's like, oh, it's just a big dumb lizard.
I can't even ride a seahorse. My name's Joe.
Yeah. If you could ride a seahorse, that'd be cool.
What about just the base level cool ass chameleon?
A cool ass chameleon.
Few things are cooler than a cool ass chameleon. You got eyes all over the place. Yeah, basically Pookie Pookie. You got the color changing.
Mm-hmm.
You can hold it,
Yeah,
marry it.
What about predators? Do those kind of
like the actual predator, or just like the predators in general.
no, like the movie Predator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that count for
or
do fictional
she.
ones?
Yeah.
Do fictional ones count?
I think Predator is the best animal.
All
you
right, there we
Ian
go.
Miller, congratulations. Sean Drake, simple question. Was curious on your thoughts on light gun games such as the Duck Hunt and Time Crisis 3. How have these types of games just not only progressed, but fell off the map altogether? It seems like shooting people in Ultra HD with a gun in hand would do extremely well with gamers. All right, Sean, cool it. What are your thoughts on why these types of games have disappeared? Why aren't there next gen?
Technology doesn't exist any on LCDs and modern TVs. You just can't do it the same way.
Yeah.
And no one wants to sell a much more expensive peripheral to do it.
But you can there's still motion sensing in the PS4 controller, and especially the Joy-Cons. Got that cool IR sensor. They could do it.
They could. I mean, they did for there were lots of Wii games, and those games got ported to PS4 as well. The market isn't there because it fell out so dramatically.
Yeah.
The genre is still there though. If you go to an arcade, they still there's a Ghostbusters light gun style game that I saw this past weekend. I was at I don't know what it's called. So some
an
arcade kind of place.
Yeah.
That's the place you've been.
I just played a Luigi's Mansion one in Japan.
It's all redemption
wild.
machines, but there's redemption machines and light gun games. There's like a Jurassic Park one.
Redemption machine. What is that?
Where you get tickets, skee ball, and everything is giving you tickets that you use to buy.
They're called redemption machines?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
It's not like a redemption, moral.
Red Dead Redemption machine.
Red Dead Redemption machine. It's very
I
smart.
mean, Sega just announced a new House of the Dead 2 weeks ago. So the answer is Japan. Go to Japan.
There you go, Sean.
Stay there, John.
We love you, buddy. For the record, says Andrew Thompson, for the record, I'd punch Brian Shea if I had the opportunity. I disagree.
So you're going to want to come to the Fulton Game of Thrones.
No. We love Brian Shea. Give him too much crap.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't punch anybody. John from Spokane, Washington says, hello, everybody. In a recent episode, you had asked who the Zune listeners were. I happen to be one. Thank you. I sent in proof that also another person also sent in proof they listen on the Zune.
What's the proof?
A picture of Zune, a Game Informer show running on a Zune. We're up to 6 Zune listeners when analytics only tracks 2. Anyways,
interesting.
There have been
analytics says we only have 2 Zune listeners.
That's why I accuse them of being liars, but they also did pictures, so analytics is wrong. Anyways, recently there had been a string of movies that I was looking forward to, but upon seeing them in the theater, I realized that they were utter horse S. However, due to my own fanboyism, I find myself making excuses to justify what I know deep down inside is a garbage product. I wish you were specific. He says, what is the biggest shining example of a time you felt compelled to try to justify a game or movie that you know deep down is just a turd with a bow because of your own fanaticism? When have you gone out of your way because you're a fan of something to try something you know is not going to be good?
I don't defend it afterwards, but I've on purpose, I went to the theater to see RoboCop 2. Saw remember when alien movies used to be good? I saw all the ones that weren't in the theater.
AVP 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, the alien Resurrection and
okay,
all that
that's
stuff.
alien specific.
Yeah.
Alien Resurrection. Oof.
Yeah.
Worse than Covenant?
I haven't seen.
Oh
Covenant
boy. Yeah. No. They're all real bad.
What about games?
For me, I think I'm in Cork's camp. I don't know that I will. I feel like I'm at a point where if something is crap, I will acknowledge it's crap. I don't think I'll defend it to anyone.
No.
At the same time, if I like it and it's crap, I'll say, "Hey, I like this. It's crap, but I like this."
Did you play Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus?
That's exactly the one I was going to say. Yep.
Oh, weird.
Yep. Dirge of Cerberus is the one that stands out in my mind as the biggest. It just sucked the whole time, but it's wow, I really like Final Fantasy VII. This seems to be important to the story somehow. I'm gonna keep going.
The cutscenes look great.
Yeah, but because I actually wasn't the biggest fan of Crisis Core either, but at least Crisis Core has some legitimately great parts to it.
Yeah.
Dirge of Cerberus is just irredeemable front start to finish.
It's just hallways in Midgar with a bunch of keys that are annoying to grab and annoying to find where to go next.
Yeah, and for different colored gates and with a terrible combat system, and also with Vincent is cool, but then you're the main supporting characters, if I'm remembering correctly, are Kate, Sith, and Yuffie.
Freak Squad
he has a
assemble!
stealth sequence, which is terrible.
What is it?
He has a stealth, or Kate has a stealth sequence, which is one of the worst stealth sequences I've ever seen in a game.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's a great example.
So,
Imran, does one stand out for you, man?
It's not terrible, but I spent a long time convincing myself Peace Walker was great. And then by the time I got to the end, I'm this is not what I wanted out of Metal Gear at all. That was a completely unnecessary game that was not up to the standards of the rest of the series.
it's That's interesting because like I also am not as high on Peace Walker as a lot of people, but like fans of the series like tend to really love Peace Walker.
It's more ambitious in its story than you think. I mean, the fact that they're roping the boss in a big way with the AI again is interesting.
Roping in a big way, or like weirdly shoehorning in because she was popular in the previous game.
What's the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
As someone that loved Metal Gear Solid 3, like the whole thing with the boss and her being like actually one of the people who landed on the moon was like, this is the dumbest thing.
Right.
Why are they doing
about that?
That was real stupid.
I still think there's Metal Gear fans out there that have just ignored Peace Walker, which is fair. I would recommend, though, just crack open a cold one at some point if you're a Metal Gear fan and just watch like the YouTube movie cut of Peace Walker, because I think it is still a fun story to absorb in that like hour and 20 minutes, you know?
It has a character named Hot Cold.
I was just going to say Hot Coldman. Yeah. The main villain is Hot Cold Man.
Konami did nothing wrong.
But Metal Gear Survive is BS. No.
Yeah.
Come on, everybody. Okay, what do you like? Email of the week.
Not the one about ads in video games.
I like the ads in video games. I kind of like the objective marker one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Objective Marker 1 was good.
Yeah, Colin Perkins from St. Paul, Minnesota. All right, congratulations, Colin. We'll ship you out something real nice as long as you promise to come to the Fulton Brewery on March 3rd and come hang out with us. That'll be a good time. Congratulations, Colin. Thanks, everybody that wrote in. Now, stay tuned for an adventure. Joe Juba, you're going to stick around. We're getting a whole new crew in. We're journeying to the old Norselands. Right?
Boy, you're really painting a picture, buddy.
Well, we do that. It is
the old Norselands.
It is a weird time, but we try to play a text adventure in this segment coming up, and
It goes really well.
stay tuned for that. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still here. We're with a new group for a weird little adventure we're going to try going on here. We got Joe Juba.
Hey.
JV Gwaltney.
Hey, everyone.
Ben Reeves.
Hello.
So we have you three specifically. Joe Juba, you're the God of War expert.
Okay.
JV Gwaltney, you're the text adventure expert.
Yes.
Ben Reeves, you're the wild card.
Expert.
Well,
That's
yeah.
right. Absolutely. And so what we're doing here is something a little bit different. We've never really played a game on the podcast. It's a strange concept. We've played trivia, but we're going to actually try and play a game. And we chose as the game, the new God of War game, that is. After all those years in development, Santa Monica released this text adventure God of War, just like they promised.
The one we did a cover story on.
So this is God of War, A Call from the Wilds. Realistically, it's a weird piece of marketing, but we don't know what it's like, and we want to check it out. So this is a prequel starring Kratos' son to the new PlayStation 4 God of War game. And we're going to try and play this text adventure through a radio play audio format.
And we have not played it.
Nope.
No.
None of us have played it.
I started it just to see if it would work, and I think it will. But let's all prepare to have fun and venture into the unknown. And to help us on this grand adventure, we have the disembodied voice of the greatest DM in D&D history, probably the
Dance
greatest
Master? Is that what
That's
that
right.
stands for? Okay.
One of the greatest men of all time, Matt Miller. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Now, Matt,
The dynamic DM.
Matt Miller is going to be narrating the adventure while four of us rotate through putting in inputs in this text adventure. So Miller is actually, the whole thing is through Facebook Messenger, which is it's stupid and bizarre, right? And so Miller is going to be inputting what we suggest. Then Miller's going to be narrating exactly what the game suggests.
At least the Dragon Age one from years back came with its own client. Its own
Yeah,
program that you
yeah.
played it in. This is just a part of Facebook.
Wait, hold on. Miller, did you start a Facebook account for this?
No, I don't have what someone else had to log in.
Yeah. Now, don't accidentally message one of Leo's, lady friends on there. You are in his account. So just keep it
man,
clean, please.
This just opened up a whole new, exciting
Just
avenue for
type
me.
in mom and then write all the sexy stuff you want.
Oh, no.
All right.
Don't pick on Leo.
This is it really is no lie. We haven't tried this yet. We don't know if this is good.
It's a fun
bad.
adventure, just like Atreus' next journey.
It's going to
Yeah.
be an adventure.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is officially the radio play, text adventure, Game Informer, basically super read play of God of War, A Call from the Wilds.
Welcome to A Call from the Wilds. You play as, apparently, the multiple personalities of Atreus as you venture into the Norse wilds beyond your home for the first time. Keep a sharp eye. The woods are full of both unknown danger and undiscovered treasure. If you survive the journey, 8 pieces of collectible God of War artwork are your reward.
Great for the audio
I
listeners.
think we put that feature on their website already.
Let's try that again. If you survive the journey, an incredible bounty of remarkable ancient treasure shall be yours.
Rad.
The swelling music.
Awesome. All right, Miller,
right.
how do we start our journey?
If you are a weak Apollo-like god, you can ask for help or learn what is in your inventory, and I will tell you about that.
Awesome.
But if you are a Kratos-like god of war,
Is this Miller going off script?
Yeah, he is.
All right.
you will just go for it
Yeah.
and see what
Oh, okay.
happens.
See,
Hell yeah.
part of being a DM is improvisation, Hanson.
Ah, okay. All right. So take it with a grain of salt if you're expecting a literal playthrough of God of War: A Call from the Wilds. All right, here we go.
All right. You wake up in your one-room cabin.
Okay.
From your window, you can see the morning sun casting long shadows throughout the woods. What would you like to do?
Go back to sleep.
Go
It's gonna
back
take a while.
to sleep. You try hard to drift back to sleep, and you dream fantastical dreams of the vast world outside left unexplored.
So hang on. So
Game over.
how about we're going around the horn, right? So JV, you can put in the next input. So you're back asleep now.
You guys are doing really well so
yeah,
far.
thank you.
This is a great adventure.
Maybe what do you want to do?
So we're asleep right now.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Continue to sleep.
You're the expert on making progress in this format, JV.
You continue to drift through the endless vaults of sleep, continuing to dream fantastical dreams of the vast world outside that still remains unexplored.
I'm going to get up and double check to see if I peed the bed again.
Poor Miller is the type.
Get up and check if I peed bed.
I'm Atreus, so.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Miller.
You get out of bed.
Oh.
The cold winter air bites at your skin, and you shiver in place. You are thankful and grateful that you have not peed the bed. You can go
Yes, I am.
north, west, east, and south. There is a door to your south. Your clothes hang on the wall on one peg, thankfully untouched by urine. Your bow and arrows on another. A mortar and pestle sits on a small shelf above. Your few wooden toys are scattered beneath your clothes. What would you like to do now?
Pick up toys. By the way, I should point out, this is actually Barry McCreary's soundtrack for the new God of War. We got it from God of War coverage. And so this is actually God of War music that you probably never heard before.
Oh, that's cool.
Sounds awesome.
I don't know. I'm going to read you what just happened, but I really don't understand. The cold air overtakes you. Your breath is lost. You feel woozy, and your vision blurs. The last thing you see is your mother.
Wait,
From picking up toys?
Rushing to catch you as you collapse. You wake up in bed under several blankets. She must have brought you back here. Putting on clothes would keep you from being so cold.
This is just overblood.
okay.
So apparently by picking up the toys,
It's so cold in that
it's
cabin.
really cold, guys.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
something to keep in mind.
Okay, Joe, keep mine.
Okay.
So you're back. We're back in bed again.
Okay. How about put on 7 coats?
While still in bed. We're still under the sheets.
Use bed
It's-
like backpack.
It's understandable. You just woke up, but you aren't making any sense. What? Try again and be a little clearer if you can.
Can we just say? Oh, hold on. My turn's not done yet.
Okay.
Well, let's just get this step out of the way. Like, put on a single coat. Get clothes.
You're still
on.
in bed, dude.
You gotta get out of bed
Just-
first.
Oh,
Just
come
for anybody
on.
who's not playing this, and to defend the people who made this game, it does tell you at the end of the entry what you should do. We're just not including that
Right.
Well, yeah, because that's a dumb.
because
con.
that's dumb.
Okay, fine. Get out of bed.
There we go.
Get out of bed.
Oh, this is the
there we
bed music.
And end bed.
I mean, this is
You
what I
get
hear
out of
every
bed,
morning I get up.
and the cold winter air bites at your skin. Once again, you can go north, west, east, and south. Keep in mind that there are clothes, gentlemen, hanging on the wall on one peg. Clothes, spelled CLOTHES.
Those don't seem
There's also
significant.
bow and arrows, a mortar and pestle, and some toys that you have already attempted to pick up, and you were suddenly knocked unconscious.
Can you like wear a mortar and pestle? I wonder for warmth.
Can you wear the bow and arrow?
Use mortar and pestle like jock strap.
Hang on, it's Javey's
Oh,
turn
okay.
here. Javey's turn.
Have an existential crisis.
Oh, no, we're gonna
gosh.
freeze again.
All right, fine. Have existential. This is a long word. Crisis.
We're never getting out of this cabin, are we?
You continue to not make any sense, but you do begin to contemplate the reality of existence.
Oh.
All right. Well, that's good.
All right.
That's new for God of War.
Ben Reeves.
I'll wear existence like a coat. And, I will put the coat on.
Swaddle
clothes
self
on.
in existence.
Yeah.
I finally revealed mother is the existence is mother.
Mother.
Never mind.
You finally put on your clothes, pulling a wolf pelt over your head and lacing up your leather boots. You finally stop shivering. There's a book in the east part of your cabin.
Pick up bow.
Derek?
Hit
you
on
hitting
Bo
on Bo
Derek.
That is a
That's a bold move.
that's a perfect 10 right there.
Atreus, you pick up your bow and arrow, and as you do, the string on your bow snaps.
Oh,
You pick the two
Can't do
parts
anything
of
right.
string off the bow and tie them together around your wrist in case they can be salvaged.
What?
You easily sling the quiver of arrows over your shoulder. You're finally getting used to carrying them.
After 2 seconds? Oh, I'm getting used to this.
That was fast. See, I want to search between the mattress and the box spring for Dad's secret stash of Chaos Blades.
can we just do search for Chaos Blades?
You look carefully for Chaos Blades, but I'm afraid Kratos has not left them to be easily found.
Now, is that in the game or is that a Miller addendum?
What do you want here, man?
I want to know when it's
You
you
either-
versus
you-
the game.
No, I don't want to know
I
that.
don't know.
okay,
I like
okay.
Miller is good at this.
All
he
right,
does
all
this.
Don't pill pack the curtain.
You're
dude.
right. Don't. All right.
Don't
here we
kill
go.
it.
Yeah. Pull it back. Whatever.
All right, JV. Make it happen.
Go outside.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
brother. So just to be clear, so the bow doesn't have a string on it because the string is wrapped around his wrist?
I
It
guess.
snapped, so he put it around
your
his wrist
your
for
bow has
safekeeping.
snapped, and you're holding onto the string in case you might
Right.
be able to repair it
But I
later.
think you
Okay.
If you
detached
can-
it from the bow part. The wood
I
part.
suspect if you could find a way to repair the bow, it might be helpful later on in your adventure.
Interesting.
You guys suck at text adventures.
What? Existential
yeah.
crisis.
Just to get some more specificity
Yeah.
from you, would you like to go? You said you want to go outside. Would you like to go north, south, east, or west?
North.
Just like big old Kratos did. The big boy himself.
You turn your eyes to the north and bump into the wall, nearly burning your foot on the cooking fire.
Burning?
What?
A small pot of porridge sits hanging near it, still warm. There's also some water in a small bowl, melted snow from outside.
Clever.
Up yours, game. You said we could go north.
No, it said the doors of the south.
Oh, okay.
All right, Reeves. Your
All right.
foot's on fire. You're bumbling around like fucking Naked Gun.
You've already frozen to death once.
I'll kick open the door and run south and stick my foot in a patch of ice.
Oh, like Marv from Home
Yeah.
Alone?
Yeah.
You have to do the Marv scream with it, yeah.
All right, go south.
There we go.
That's not what I said.
Hey, voice of game, get this crap right.
In a sudden rush, you flee outside, at once feeling both the cold breeze and the warm sun. Around your cabin, you see ash, pine, and yew trees. The snow shimmers with the rising sun, and a few birds are sporadically singing from their nests overhead. There's a rich herb garden to your east. Your mother calls for you straight ahead to the south again, much louder than the birds above.
Run north.
Wait, didn't we just
That's
come from
back
north?
in the house.
I don't know if it would read that.
You go north into the cabin.
Damn it!
You are defying your mother's calls. You are once again back in your home.
Joe, I don't want to lead you. but
From your window, you can see the morning sun casting long shadows throughout the woods.
Good. Yeah.
The cold winter air bites at your skin and you shiver in place. You can
cabin
go
sucks.
in any direction,
Hey,
but you have already attempted to walk into the fire without success. You can also look around and pick up objects. There's a door to your south that you've already
look at
moved
book.
through.
Look at book.
Okay.
Look at
like all
book.
good DMs. Okay, then.
You inspect the book, noticing that its leather-bound cover is damp.
From P?
Oh, I peed the book and not the bed.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a common mistake for an 8-year-old.
Eat book.
Eat book.
Guys, I don't think I like this Atreus character. He's very stupid. Fans should be worried.
It says that you're going to need to pick up the book before you can eat it.
Ah.
Pick up book and eat book.
Let's pick up book.
The book is on fire!
Oh no! It's come alive! It's not
This
happy
book does
with us.
not want to be eaten.
You pick up the book. You can look at its cover, or you could look inside, or you could eat it.
Wait, really?
Eat the book.
When they say Atreus devours books, they don't mean he reads them quickly and in great quantity.
You attempt to devour the book, wrapping your mouth around its cover and pages, but
Lewd.
sadly, you are unable to squeeze it inside your lips.
Huh, we could say he was hungry for knowledge, right, guys?
What would you say, though, Reese?
But instead, I would say pick up. Wait, we already picked up the book, right? Yeah. Read the cover.
It's No, that's not right.
It's understandable that you are dumb. Okay.
Looking at the cover, all you notice is that it is damp, as you previously noticed.
What? So it turns out I can't read? Is that the problem?
I've got to.
You
I got
can
to
look inside the book if you'd like.
I've got to fix it. Throw book in fire.
I've got to fix here. Hold on, guys.
I'll get rid of this book issue.
You consider throwing the book into the fire, but you realize at the last moment that it might be important for being able to move this story forward.
All right, your turn, Joe.
Okay, read book. Can I read? Is Atreus smart enough to read?
He reads like runes and stuff in the trailers,
that's
right?
right. That's right. Yeah.
You open the book to a page that reads healing salve. Ingredients: Hivon herb, leek, and Chervil. Mix these ingredients in order with a mortar and pestle in homage to ire.
Oh. I
But
think
the
that's a
text-
recipe for Chanel number 5.
The text becomes blurry. It looks like this book has sustained some water damage. Atreus, your mother calls. It's time. She wants you to come outside to begin your archery lesson. You can go outside through the door to your south, but first make sure you have everything you need.
JD.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was Joe's turn.
No, I went.
Go south.
There we go, boy.
Oh boy.
Okay, we're not taking anything else.
Oops.
Well, look, I tried to take those dumb toys. I guess maybe now that we have clothes
Yeah,
on.
the pedal and mortar. Or mortister.
We can
whatever
just
you
come
call
back and grab it.
The
It's
shuttle
fine.
of mortar.
The mortar. A mortar and pestle is not some like exotic thing.
Look, we were born in the 1600s.
You once
Joe.
again exit the cabin, having left important supplies behind. Around your cabin, you see all those pretty trees you saw before. The snow continues to shimmer with the rising sun, and sure enough, your mother, now sounding slightly annoyed, continues to call for you.
Go to mother.
Yeah. I don't recommend it. I did not like that movie.
Rent mother.
Oh,
Which direction would you like to go to find your mother?
What?
She did call to you from south.
Oh, well, clearly I need to go north then.
Don't do it, Reese. Don't do it.
You turn once again to consider
No.
the cabin, the door of which you've now gone through several times.
Mother? Go south.
South to find the mother. We don't know the mother's name yet. The recent story trailer showed that, I don't want to spoil this story, but she's super dead at the start of that game. In theory at the start, at least in the beginning area.
What if her name's like Cindy?
Could be.
Something like that.
Yeah, Pamela.
Atreus, you head south away from the cabin where you have lived for so long. Your mother greets you near the edge of the woods. She notices your broken bow. You offer her the leftover string, which she graciously accepts and promises to reuse
She can
for
eat it?
something. She teaches you how to restring the bow and supplies you with a spare string in case this happens again. She then points you towards a target and tells you to aim at it.
Shoot mom.
I mean, they must have foreseen that.
They must have.
They had to.
That's video game 101.
I wonder if we
Shoot
need to draw the bow or the arrow first.
You start to aim at your mother, but she stops you with a stern look.
mom. All right. Joe, you want to go?
Yeah. Shoot at target.
Joe, that's very noble of you.
Mm-hmm.
You clear your mind and take aim at the target.
I didn't say all that. I want to do it with clouded mind.
Pure rage.
Yeah.
Let it fly.
Thinking about them toys?
Yeah.
Your mind is clouded with thoughts of the toys and the mortar and pestle you've left behind in the cabin.
All right.
Now your mother says, fire an arrow.
Fire arrows.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
throw arrow at mom.
Oh boy.
I thought we brought Jamie here because he was good at this.
I certainly thought so too. Do you guys want to shift it where it's like you can pass it off whenever you want? So you can complete some thoughts?
You consider throwing the arrow at your mother, but you remember what happened the last time you did so and think better of the decision.
Okay.
Okay. So you were just moving on?
Do you guys want to just do it like complete thoughts and then pass it on to the next person whenever you've completed your area? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do
Yeah,
that.
let's
All
do
right,
that.
sure. All right,
That'll make us get more progress?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, JV. So that's not going to work.
Fire arrow at target.
You hit the target in its lower left quadrant. I rolled a d20 back here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Not too far from the bullseye. Not bad. Try again, your mother urges.
Try again.
That's game design.
He's a try again-ist.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you got
I'm
a workshop.
impressed too,
You got
Joe.
a
I'm
workshop.
impressed
I
too.
get it.
You've just rolled a 1. Atreus, your mother shouts as you shoot an arrow off into nowhere. Remember to aim.
Oh, good.
That
grief.
sounds more like me. Yeah. Aim and fire.
No.
Aim
You
and
take
fire.
aim,
Not at mom.
This time steadying your breathing and focus intently on the target, remembering to push aside thoughts of the toy and the mortar and pestle which you have left behind in the cabin. You're ready to shoot an arrow.
Wow. JV, you got it.
Shoot arrow at mortar and pestle.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Your DM overrides your decision, and you shoot the arrow at the target. Your next arrow flies swift, with more force than the first.
Ooh.
But you've overcorrected, striking the target in the far upper right corner. One more, your mother says.
Take the arrow, aim it at the target, and fire.
At the center of the target.
At the center of the target.
Oh, yeah, I guess we haven't said what we're aiming for. Maybe we're aiming for the upper right the entire
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It's a good
I've been
point.
aiming for the target's nuts.
You target's got truck nuts?
It's the sensitive spot.
You aim at the target, ready to release your arrow. Do you wish to fire yet again?
Fire!
Unleash the dogs of war.
You misspoke the title.
You let the arrow fly, and it hits just a few fingers away from the bullseye.
Fingers.
Good job today, your mother says, taking down the target. Just one more lesson. She shows you a stone with a large rune carved into it. Each letter in our sacred alphabet has its own self-evident meaning. Today, Dagaz. It is a rune that symbolizes daybreak, bold change, and the unveiling of new possibilities. Remember this rune. Now go play, she says, sending you south to the woods around your cabin. She's sending you south, gentlemen.
Okay, Ben Reeves.
Oh, we just went south to play?
No, she told you to go south.
Oh.
This might be a good chance to rectify things that left in the cabin and
Let's-
an herb garden that probably has ingredients for a healing salve.
Let's go north.
No, it's going back to the cabin.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You go north and once again notice the beautiful trees that surround the exterior of your cabin.
Oh, go back into the cabin. Go north.
Straight to that cabin.
You go north into the cabin. You're back in your home for the umpteenth time.
Okay.
From your window, you can see the morning sun casting ever longer shadows throughout the woods.
Take sun.
Yeah.
There are a few wooden toys here,
Okay.
and a mortar and pestle sits on a small shelf above.
Grab my toys.
You don't know that it could be Kratos' toys.
You pick up
Oh,
your
that's true.
toys. There's a carved wooden horse with, strangely, 6 legs, a figure of Thor,
gotta go.
and a death merchant with big tusks made of incredibly strong stone.
Is that a euphemism?
Yep.
Okay. So I have them now. Is that correct, or am I just?
You do. You have
Okay.
them.
I'm gonna grab the metal importister.
You have the portis head and mustard. I wonder if there's a take.
You
all.
pick up the mortar and pestle.
All right. I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pee on the bed one last time and then exit the cabin.
Are you passing it off, Reeves? or-
Yeah.
okay. Run south.
Just as a quick aside, the text adventure when I said to pee on bed says, "What do you want to do with your bed?"
Oh, really?
Yes.
Take out your wiener and pee on the
I
bed.
didn't think we had to be this specific, but yeah. Oh, because we don't want to pee inside our pants.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You once again consider what you might do with the bed, and yet again recall the look that your mother will give you if you, like you did yesterday, pee on the bed.
What happened to player agency, huh? I'm gonna go ahead and just go south. Leave that cabin, I think. And now, does anybody remember where that little garden was?
I mean, I think you can just say go to garden.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow it up then, Mr. DM Miller, with go to garden.
Apparently,
Uh-oh,
the
he's
game does
crying.
not recognize that particular option.
Can you explain the surroundings when I
believe-
went south?
Oh gosh, you asking me to rewind now.
Oh,
I want to say it was east.
okay. Go east.
I'm not sure.
Good roll of a DM.
I don't know what to tell you, man. You're now in the east part of the clearing by your cabin. A rich patch of Sherville grows nearby.
Pick up Sherville, herbs, and leeks.
I think Sherville is the herb.
You pick up the Sherville.
Oh.
Do you want me to remind you what's in your inventory?
Oh, maybe not.
Yeah,
Like
please.
Apollo?
Inventory check.
Like weak Apollo.
Apollo's the one who got his head ripped off and got over 3.
You look
right?
inside your
Yes.
knapsack and find the following items. You have a book, you have bow and arrows, Sherville, a mortar and pestle, spare string, and some really awesome toys.
Those sound really good.
So hang on.
Should we read the
this
book
isn't
again?
for Miller. Oh, we never read the book, did we?
Well, we did read the book.
You did if you
The
have
book
trouble
the book was
recalling-
that recipe.
Yeah, it
Ah.
was mostly water damage, but there was a healing salve recipe inside that included 3.
Okay. Well,
Different
hang on. This
items.
isn't for Miller. We need an herb and a leek.
Uh-huh.
Were they not in the garden?
I thought you just got the
You
herb.
just went east. That's all it. Like when I said go to garden, it didn't.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's
okay,
go ahead
okay.
and go west
I
then.
don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Young man.
Go west twice. Westward. Oh, please, sir.
Okay. Right after going west once, you're back in front of your door. You go west again.
God, I know that spot well.
You're now in the west part of the clearing by your cabin. You can see clouds spilling over the mountaintops, but you can't go further this way.
All right, Joe, passing off to you, buddy.
I don't know. Look around.
Is the garden
You're-
by the?
You're still in the west part of the clearing.
Oh, and there's just nothing interesting.
Let me see if I can help us out here. I'll see if I can find where you've gone in and out of the cabin so many times. It's going to take me a little while to find.
No, that's all right. Let's just go south.
No healing.
I think we'll probably find some leaks. Wild forest leaks.
Right. I think he already found a leak
Yeah, we
earlier in the
Took
bed.
a leak. Yeah. I know when my
So-
mom said go play, I used to hunt around for ingredients to make
One of the earlier pieces of information that comes back to mind is that indeed the rich herb garden was to the east of your cabin. You have already gone there, and that's where you found the Sherville.
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you the things you recall as being in the book, or you could read the book again if you'd like?
No, we've got it.
Urban leak.
Let's just go south. First, we have to get injured, and then we have to make the dump south.
Right. Then we crawl back.
You can't go south from where you are in the west part of the clearing.
Go east, then go south.
Why did?
And then
Text
I love the idea
This is,
of
by the way, a lesson in like how not to DM. This is the sort of thing you would skip over.
Yeah, I also love the idea of your mom just sitting there watching you like aimlessly bumble from one point of your
Oh, that's my
property
little
to the other.
dumbass.
Yeah. Oh, what an idiot!
It's like the hero's
Just like
journey.
his father.
Hold
I
on.
saw him try to eat that book earlier. He
Is our
couldn't do
penis
it.
still hanging out of our pants?
Absolutely.
Or did we?
Absolutely, it is.
Let's get
After
frostbitten.
wandering around the front area around your cabin for a really long time,
Yeah.
you're finally at the edge of the clearing by your cabin where you had your archery lesson, probably like 7 hours ago.
Okay, great.
Your home is to the north, while some woods are just to your south.
Okay. Let's go to the woods.
Dangerous place there be.
You go south, there's a stone ridge to the east, too tall for you to climb. To the west, there's a tree with low-hanging branches.
Climb mountains to the east.
It doesn't seem like the mountains are climbable.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
You can see them, but you can't.
I
go
thought
there.
maybe it was to get like a secret door.
All right, that's fair.
Oh, go in
There's
the
a
secret door.
stone ridge to the east, but
Oh.
it's too tall for you to climb.
Oh, that's
There's a tree with low-hanging branches, which, as you think about it more, probably is climbable.
I don't know. That seems like the low hanging is like they're really trying to get me to do that.
Right. What is this, baby mode?
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let's just go to the tree and climb it.
Wow. Very restrained of you, Joe. I'm very
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah. And then I want to eat a big handful of dirt and then smile at my mom back at the house.
Well, before you have a chance to eat any dirt, you climb up the ash tree. You sit cradled in its branches and relax. You've always liked to do this, Atreus, because since you were young, you've held a secret.
Oh.
You can hear things that others can't.
That's
Shortly
not
after
a
shutting
secret,
your
that's
eyes
insanity.
and listening to the forest, you hear a voice beginning to creep at the edges of your mind. It's crying out in pain. Clear as it is desperate, it's not a whisper in your ears, but rather a shout in your mind.
All right, JB.
But to really hear it, you'll have to listen harder.
So he's like Superman, just like hovering above Earth. This is lore details that Atreus is supersonic hearing.
Well, I think we know that he's like
Part God.
Part God. That's got to
Yeah.
be some. Anyway,
The
go
god
ahead.
of ears.
Listen more closely.
Confused about exactly. So he'd be 1/4 god. I guess we don't know the mom. So if the mom's a god after all, maybe half.
Yeah.
Chapter 2.
Oh wow!
See, I made progress.
Pretty
Shut
good.
up, Ben.
Pretty good. You
Follow
are
the Voices is the name of this chapter. The voice isn't in the language of your mother's people, but instead the cry of a wounded animal desperate for your help. Before you can get up to help, you hear another voice. This one does speak your language, but its intentions are unclear. It promises adventure and heroism, a path to true greatness. You jump down from the tree and head west. Sorry, guys, this is just what it's saying.
Yeah.
Seemingly in the direction of these strange voices. As you walk, you see a tree with an interesting mark, but you don't pay it much attention. I'm not sure why. Birds and squirrels scatter through the forest as you rush through, following the voices in your head. They now seem to be coming from the south.
Good God.
Like the game, like there's clearly an important mark on a tree that it's glossing over, but we have to put on our damn clothes before we freeze to death.
Do you want me to try to put on clothes again?
No, take off clothes. Let's just
Please
end
don't
it.
do that. Please
End-
don't do
end
that.
End
No
it.
way. Everyone
Take
will
off
die.
clothes. You consider taking off your clothes, but think better of it.
Hot.
You'd surely freeze, so you leave your clothes on.
Wow. Pretty impressive. So the choice is check out the tree or
You've headed west from the tree you climbed,
yeah.
and you saw the tree with an interesting mark. You noted the birds and the squirrels scattering through the forest, and that further south is where the voices are coming
Spooky
from.
voice. Okay.
I think the squirrels are important. It's an important note.
JV, what do you want to do?
Was it still my go? I thought we had switched to Ben since we had left the area.
Oh, sure.
All right,
Take
sure.
it away, Reese.
Go south.
Good choice, Reese.
I think it's good.
You're filled with a foreboding feeling as you head south and feel small among the taller and taller trees.
Oh no.
The woods grow darker. There's a clearing to the south, surrounded by thick brush.
Grow bigger.
Hey, his dad did that
Yeah.
once.
I mean,
You close your eyes and concentrate hard, attempting to make your size magnify. Unfortunately, that's an idiotic idea, and it doesn't work.
dang it, Atreus. I've already forgot what else is around here. You just keep going south?
The
Nick?
woods are darker here, and there's a
Okay.
clearing to the south that's surrounded by thick brush.
Oh, I guess we gotta go south.
Thick brush. We don't have to clear that brush, do we?
yeah, clear brush with bow and arrow.
Please, this is Reese's turn, Joe.
You go south through the clearing in the brush. Bounding through the forest, you hop on the big roots of the trees, imagining you're one of the gods on a hunt for honor and glory. Getting lost in your imagination, you turn around and realize you've gotten lost in a maze of twisted trees. You'll have to look around and follow the voices, paying attention to when they get louder to make your way out.
Oh, boy.
There's a thorny bush blocking the way west, but other directions do look passable.
Listen closely. I grabbed you, Reese. I grabbed your storyline.
I think I can hear him.
Does it kind of sound like Bear McCreary music?
For some reason, it's you can't listen closely where you are right now.
All right, Reese, how you feeling? Which direction?
South. Although if we're lost, how do we know which direction's which?
He only has a compass. That was embedded in the little toy horse he has.
Oh, yeah.
You go south on a path through the twisted trees. The chaotic voices are louder now. You see a circular clearing with a tall tree. It has several branches that start just a few inches off the ground.
Oh boy, gotta climb that tree.
Hell yeah. I think this is Yggdrasil.
I
Yo.
think that's what this is.
Remember in the rapid fire questions, Joe? Corey Barlog said that Kratos chops down a tree in the game. There are a lot of YouTube comments that are like, it's going to be Yggdrasil. Kratos is going to go to town on that tree. This is a funny idea.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that could be.
That's the end boss, is him just slowly chopping down the world tree.
I like it.
It seems like maybe chopping down the world tree is maybe for a later installment.
I see. Lord Miller?
Before climbing the tree, you pause to discuss a strange video game in the far future, and then you continue and climb the tree, easily swinging up into its branches. Once you've reached the top of this tall tree, you look around, taking in the view. To the east, the forest looks much darker, but a thin wisp of smoke rises through the trees. To the west, over the brush, you see a colorful array of plants that seem to be flowering even this late in the season. To the south, a creek. To the north, mostly trees. You also see you also
good.
see an egg in a nest between some nearby branches.
The hell?
Oh boy. Dive headfirst off the tree.
You can't dive off the tree. You realize it would lead to your imminent death.
Holy cow.
All right, Hanson, you want to go for it?
Yeah, I guess pick up egg. You gotta pick up egg. We should probably just be in the habit of just saying "take all" on every screen, like in good old adventure games.
You gingerly pick up the egg.
Eat
It's
egg.
a ginger egg?
Yes.
Suck egg.
Juggle egg.
You guys are gonna like this one.
Juggle egg and rune.
No, too late. You bite into the egg, cracking the shell with your teeth and making a yolky mess all over your face.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Climb down tree. Okay, so the
image of this like
stupid kid,
this eggy-faced moron.
toys overflowing his pockets,
Oh, yeah, he has toys with him.
lost 20 feet from his house.
I can't tell you how many times I just wandered through woods and ate wild eggs as a kid.
While his mother stands afar watching.
Shell and all.
He just wasted his whole morning like, just walking around.
Okay, Reeves, you think that house to the east, do you think that's the cabin? Or is that a different stranger's house?
Oh,
because there's
interesting.
house with smoke.
I assumed it was a stranger's house.
I think you mostly have gone south up to this point.
Yeah, I would go.
So
Let's go
the
east.
smoke rising through the trees to the east.
Yeah.
That's where you want to go?
Let's head to the east. I want to see what that smoky little hut's all about.
Constantly surprised every time he walks into his own cabin. Whoa, toys!
Oh, my feet's on fire again.
I have similar toys.
Mom's just shaking her head again.
with a yolky mess of egg slowly congealing upon your skin,
Freezing, probably.
slowly freezing in the frigid north. You follow the taunting voice, continuing east. You see a crude lean-to over some still smoldering coals. This looks to be a hunter's camp, left a few hours ago. Some herring remains over the fire.
Well, it's time to put some herring on your chest. Eat herring. Quickly, while looking around in fear.
I like the idea that his mom never has to feed him because he just goes and eats things out in the wild.
Licks a tree for a while.
You eat some of the herring. It's dry and salty, sucking up all of the moisture in your mouth.
Wow. Hey, Huddle here, Huddle. What do we just leave this dumb hut now?
I
We
mean,
just know he's not going to starve?
The book was wet, so if we want to like suck that for some moisture, that might work.
We can try burning the book at this fire.
I don't think that's a great idea.
Can I throw up the egg I've eaten and like make an omelet?
puke up egg?
Maybe we should go in the hut.
It's just a little lean-to. I assume you saw everything in there.
You consider throwing up the egg, but that's really gross.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaning towards run west 2 screens to check out the flower bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go west twice.
We might have some leaks there.
And then, Joe, I'll let you be the little flower boy.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's my style.
As you head west, you note that the chaotic voices are louder now.
Ooh.
And you're near the clearing with the tall tree. But you continue past that and go west yet again.
Okay.
Or you attempt to anyway. When you do, you find that you can't go that way. There's a fast-moving river that's too deep to cross. After that, the game is thinking.
I thought there was a creek to the south, but there's also just a river to the west?
We may have crashed the game. But go ahead and give me another thing, and
Maybe
we'll
we
see
go
if it
south.
works.
Keep going south.
Yeah, let's try to go south.
I guess we got to go south.
Maybe we can loop around.
All right, you can't go that way. The forest is thick with thorns and impenetrable.
Okay, so we have to go back to the dumb lean-to.
Wait, can we listen? Well, but the voices were louder here.
I think you may recall that there's 2 different styles of voices, I believe.
Okay,
I think there's chaotic voices and there's taunting voices. I'm not sure if they're different or
Can we
if they're
just
the same.
listen here? Let's just like listen.
That's my favorite video game verb.
It's in all those LucasArts adventures. Listen.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, is it?
Yeah,
actually
it is.
might be-
Is it really?
It's look, listen, touch, sometimes taste.
You're brave, are you not?
Oh, hello.
A shadowy voice gravels at you from inside your head. It seems to be coming from the east. The cry for help has faded, but you can tell it's coming from the south.
I thought we couldn't go south.
I don't think we can either.
Okay, east. Let's go back east. Let's go to that lean-to.
Yeah, that seems like that's like the doghouse where when Kratos is kicked out, he just has to go sleep in this lean-to.
You once again move in the direction of the taunting voice, continuing east.
Yeah.
You see a crude lean-to over some still smoldering coals.
Rifle through lean-to.
Rifle, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Just search lean-to sounds good. I think should we just try keep going east?
Maybe there's some good.
Can we listen to the voices here?
Lord Miller.
There's nothing to search in the lean-to.
Okay.
Would you like to pause and listen for a moment?
Yes.
Please do. By the way, I started this game yesterday, just a couple screens or whatever, and then today I got another message through Facebook Messenger like, Atreus is waiting for your input. Like, don't leave him hanging, basically. Like, it's a weird marketing tactic,
That
isn't
tracks. This little idiot just sort of standing there waiting for any sort of direction.
it? Time lapse of the sun going down and up.
2 days. Like, oh.
Sobbing quietly in the dark.
Birds pecking at the egg on his face.
I need a bath.
You attempt from the lean-to once again listen to the voices, but no new information emerges. While you are here, you can have more herring, or you can go elsewhere.
Give up.
Is kill yourself an option? Is that the...
Once again, you can have herring, or you can go elsewhere.
Let's just eat herring. Let's make this God of War Call of the Herring. Just eat as much herring as it'll let us eat.
You once again eat some herring. It's still dry. It's still salty. And now there's next to no moisture in your mouth.
Oh, no.
Is this what hell is like?
Let's keep eating herring until we turn into a mummy. Let's just desiccate the shit out of ourselves.
You have become the god of herring. You feel dry and salty. You have no moisture in your body. You look like a fish.
All right. I like this.
Good game.
You think better of it, though, and become a strange boy with egg on his face again.
Okay.
Wow.
Go ahead, JV.
Which way are we going? We're going to go east, right? Or was it west?
You went east to get to... Didn't you go east to get to this place?
Yes,
yeah,
you did.
we came from the west then.
All right, so let's go east again.
Miller has to take
You've
it away.
headed east. As you travel east, a foul stench fills the air. The voices rage inside your head. Stalks of Hivon herb grow among the bristly pine. It's colder here and smells of horrible decay.
Pick herb.
Nice, dude.
Pick Yvonne herb, whatever.
To kill
You
him.
pick up the Hivon herb. Hivon herb? I don't know, man. You got it.
Oh, okay. I thought there was going to come a longer, lengthy description of what Atreus does. Nope.
You did it.
You're in
We did the thing.
stinkiest part of Scandinavia.
All right.
It smells terrible here.
Yeah, smell stench.
He's good at listening, not smelling.
Really soak it up.
We really hate this kid.
Rub your nose in the dirtiest thing.
You rub your nose in the dirty stench of the pines, and it is particularly overwhelming.
Look north.
The forest is too thick to the north. You can't go that way.
Look east.
You trudge east as a sense of dread drapes over you. The smell of death intensifies with every step. To avoid losing your stomach, including the egg that you devoured raw, your entire body clenches itself. You see a rabbit carcass, flayed in half widthwise. Its blood is sprinkled over the brush. To the east, there appears to be a strange tunnel.
JV, you know what you have to do.
Eat rabbit.
Yep.
Talk to Rabbit.
You-
You okay,
Gross.
buddy?
Poke at
How's
rabbit.
it going?
New toy!
you,
Poke rabbit's eyes.
you simply cannot do that to the rabbit carcass.
Oh.
Go into tunnel. Enter tunnel.
JV, you've designed text adventures, right?
Yes.
Does it feel like this?
What does what feel like this?
Just the whole thing, baby.
I'm not sure what you're asking me here, Ben.
Come on, man.
I don't know what you're asking.
Are we playing a text adventure?
We're definitely playing it. We are playing a not great text adventure.
Okay. Hell yeah.
You continue into the strange tunnel. Suddenly, the ground shifts and gives way. Everything goes dark. After a minute passes, you blink and find yourself back where the twisted trees began. You don't ask questions, counting yourself fortunate to not be stuck in a pit.
The only thing worse than the Lost Woods are a text version of the Lost Woods.
There's a thorny bush blocking the way west, but other directions look passable.
Get eaten by a fucking Gru.
Find Gru.
What?
Tease Gru.
Eats Gru.
Just Gru. Just write Gru. What's Gru?
It's the monster from Zork. It's
Oh,
like,
thank you.
we'll kill you.
You've been eaten by a Gru.
You look around for the Gru and don't find it.
That's a shame.
Hey, have you tried going to sleep, JV?
Go to sleep. Wish for death.
Slow, comma, painful.
You could type north, south, east, or west to go somewhere.
Disrobe and run around until the frost takes you.
Are we just giving up? Are
Eat
we
toys.
Where did we come from?
we have failed in our adventure?
I think we've officially failed.
Yeah, I'm good.
You can't eat your toys.
Okay. Well, that is the story of Atreus before God of War on the PlayStation 4. Now, when you start the game, you can brag to your friends, I know this kid better than anybody.
He's the guy that eats that raw egg.
That tree climbing, toe tapping, cabin searching MFer? Oh, yeah, I know Atreus.
He's the guy that attempts to walk into his own campfire.
I hope we can import
No,
our
he did not attempt. He did it.
He's the guy that tries to shoot his mom with an arrow. That's literally how his mom dies. Atreus shoots his mom.
And that's it.
And
everybody.
Kratos approves.
Leo in the booth. Without further ado, I think it's time for the wrap-up music to God of War, A Call from the Wilds, or as we call it, A Call from the Wilds, Part 1. Joe, we'll see.
Joe looks so horrified. It's Sonic 06 all over again.
It's really beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us on this wild adventure. Joe Juba, thank you for the good reminder of what it's like to play a text adventure game. Thanks, everybody that watched or listened to this episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to tune in next Thursday when we have a brand new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.